Hey guys. This is part 7 of What If Naruto Can Level Up. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 19, Shake It Off. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto called out, and over a dozen clones came into being as they surrounded both Ino and Hinata. Naruto knew the two were weak, tired, and low on chakra at the moment. As it was, Naruto knew only he and Hadamaro would be facing the creature. The blonde didn't doubt that Anko would step in if she had to either. So far she only let them deal with scorpions because that was all that was expected of them to face. This powerful foe was an unseen and unknown variable. However, Naruto being Naruto wasn't going to back down from a fight. While Anko pounded into his thick skull on how to choose his battles, old habits died hard. But Naruto wasn't one to put his friends in danger either, and would retreat if it meant them living. Live today, fight tomorrow, he recalled Anko telling him. The thought suddenly became the last thing on his mind as the ground began to shake violently. All five were forced to cover their eyes as a creature suddenly exploded out of the earth. Rock and dirt was thrown about and covered the field like a miniature sandstorm. Gah! A yell of pain was suddenly heard, and all three genin knew it came from their teacher. All of them yelled out to her to see if she was okay, only to spot her flying towards Naruto and crash into the young blonde. Ow, the boy muttered at the sudden impact of Anko's body slamming into him. The dirt blinding his vision and the speed in which it all happened hampered his reaction time. Thanks, Gaki, Anko said, but immediately winced as felt a pain in her side. Shit. Damn, rib probably got bruised or cracked. She winced once more. The thing was fast and powerful, and judging from the sneak attack it just pulled, it was intelligent as well. Grrrrrrrrr. The group heard Hadamara's growl to be one when faced against a strong enemy. All of them prepared for the worst as the cloud of dirt disappeared. When it did, Naruto and Anko narrowed their eyes while Ino and Hinata's widened. The creature was very tall, long and powerfully built. Its skin was a dull green while its claws were as black as the abyss. A lizard? Was the best way Ino could describe it. Her description of the creature was spot on. Bare a few difference, before them was indeed a lizard-like creature. Naruto didn't bother to take any chances and used observe on the beast. Part of him wished he hadn't when the group saw the results. Unknown chakra mutation, unknown, LV 35. HP, 4700? CP, 1500? STR, 154? VIT, 157? Dex, 129? Int 40? Wiz 38? Luck 69? Defense, 135? Special perk? Perks? Status effect? Description: a very large monitor lizard-looking chakra mutation. Not much is known about this savage flesh-eating lizard other than it not to be dealt with lightly. Its rough skin offers it protection from many forms of attack, however, its skin is much softer on its stomach and therefore more vulnerable. Despite its incredible size, this creature is quite fast, capable of burrowing underground in seconds, and hosts a number of dangerous and lethal weapons such as its bite, claws, and tail. For some reason or another, though, there is something odder about this chakra mutation than others. Why is that? EXP earned? Drops? Oh shit, Naruto didn't like this at all. Especially since the damn thing had a multitude of question marks on its stats and in its perks. It was similar to Anko's status window in a way, and Naruto knew this didn't bode well for either of them. As he eyed the beast, Naruto wondered if they should retreat. He had expected a powerful foe, but not one that was 10 levels higher than the Scorpion boss. It wasn't the same as facing the Legion zombie either. Whereas the zombie boss was slow, stupid, and a walking target for his attacks, Naruto had the distinct impression this wasn't going to be the case with this thing. If he were in better shape and had more chakra, it would be different. His HP was still pretty high, and thanks to his frequent visit to the zombie dungeon and his Master Zombie Slayer title, he had a ton of minor-grade health potions and 3 medium-grade health potions to help him recover lost health. Too bad it did squat for fatigue. As he looked at Anko, who looked at a tired Ino and Hinata that were being protected by a bunch of clones, Naruto knew the woman was contemplating if they should stay or not. Gaki. I think, repel the powerful foe to clear the dungeon. Well, that's convenient, he heard her mutter. Gaki, what do we have to do to repel it? She asked. If it's anything like the games I've played, then we need to bring its health down below 50% or more, Naruto informed her. The Jonin instructor of Team 8 nodded before she looked at her other students. Ino, Hinata, you two give us cover fire. Anko silently cursed that Midori wasn't with them at the moment. While the serpent was faithful to Anko, she wasn't with her 24/7 like many believed and occasionally left to do her own thing. Talk about fucking luck. Had Midori been here, the fight would have been over quickly and easily. Hato, stay with them, he ordered and got a bark as a reply. Though stronger than them, even more so in his transformed state, Hatamara's attacks were purely physical at the moment. Even with him being better at the ability, and with his ravenous sin skill that allowed him to drain chakra from another being, the creature was powerful. Would he put up a good fight? Naruto had not doubt he would, and get very injured in the process. At the moment it was best that he looked after Ino and Hinata till they regained their strength. Alright, let's do this, Gaki, Anko declared before she strategically charged the creature at speeds Naruto could not match. However, that didn't stop the only male of the team, and he soon followed right behind her. The creature itself releasing a loud and vicious hiss before it too charged at them. Its razor-sharp claws, easily the size of scythes if not larger, were digging into the ground and leaving wicked trenches in its wake as it made its way towards them. Anko ducked under a claw swipe with ease and then jumped as it made to bite at her. The woman soared over its back and launched a volley of shuriken laced with her personal poisons with as much strength as she could muster. Unfortunately, the shuriken had little to no effect as most bounced off its hide. Anko landed on a nearby rock formation and was forced to dodge as the lizard used its tail to send several boulders her way. The woman didn't doubt it was done as retaliation for the stunt she pulled. Granted, Anko wasn't the most physically endowed individual compared to others such as Guy, Asuma, and Kakashi, but she at least thought it would be enough to cut the creature. Guess I need some training of my own. Part of her also knew that if the seal wasn't on her or if she accessed it, her strength would increase to the point that cutting the creature up would be child's play. Even if she had any desire to use the dark power of the seal, because of how long it had been since she used it, accessing that power would be very difficult. Guess I gotta make do, she thought before she quickly prepared for her next move. While the creature was very fast, Anko knew she was faster. As Anko prepared, Naruto created several clones and charged at creature with his sword out of its sheath. The lizard, however, met the rushing clones before it suddenly performed a spin and whipped out with its tail. Several of the clones were destroyed in the process while others managed to dodge in time. But even then a few were quickly destroyed or forced to continue dodging as it continued its assault. While its DX was lower than his own, Naruto knew that it was most likely faster. The gamer didn't doubt the question marks hid the true number and speed of the creature. It was for this reason why Naruto didn't wish to risk using his most powerful technique. It left him vulnerable, used up a large amount of chakra, and with the creature's speed it could easily be dodged or halted before he had the chance to use it. Guess it's time to do some improv then, he breathed before setting his plan into motion. Naruto charged at the creature as fast as he could, and just as he was upon it, or it upon him, did he use the Zanzo no Jutsu, afterimage technique, taught to him by Hate. The creature was momentarily confused when it felt the lack of food in its maw before it was replaced by a sharp pain in its back left leg. Jujetsu no Mai, Dance of the False Moon, Naruto declared and grinned as he finally drew blood. The technique he had used wasn't the most powerful, but it was effective. It worked on the principle of feints and counterattacks. In this case, letting the creature think he was attacking a specific spot before evading their strike and then attacking as it was left vulnerable. Ryokuboku, Power Strike! Ryokuboku, Power Strike! Ryokuboku, Power Strike! Naruto declared over and over and continued to slash at the injured appendants. With its rough and tough skin it wasn't easy. Naruto compared the action as that of someone axing a tree with a dull blade. As he tried to get in another blow, Naruto was forced to cross his arms before he was sent sailing through the air. The boy grunted loudly and saw that despite blocking the forceful claw swipe, it had still taken a decent 237 of his HP, losing another 179 when he crashed into a rock formation. Ow, he grunted at the pain. He was left with little time to tend to his wound as the creature was quickly making its way to him once more. As he prepared to charge, Naruto was forced to dodge as a large glob of viscous saliva was shot from its mouth. He was soon greeted with the sound and smell of sizzling rock that was melting at an astonishing rate. Seriously? What the hell is with the corrosive skills I'm faced with? As he prepared to dodge the creature's next attack, Naruto saw a myriad of snakes slither and hiss towards the giant lizard abomination at frightening speeds. Many never made it towards the intended target, but others did and proceeded to wrap themselves around the lizard's legs. Naruto didn't know what to think of the plan. The snakes wouldn't last long against creature, and his theory was proven correct as he watched it eat several of the snakes to free itself. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. Naruto watched as flames suddenly rushed along the serpents before it met with the enemy, and its upper legs were set ablaze in the process. The creature thrashed wildly as it tried to rid itself of the flames that licked at its flesh. While the rough skin protected it, the flames would still be able to burn it off and make the area more vulnerable to attack. Don't just stand there. Get it while it's distracted, Anko ordered as she made her way towards it. Don't have to tell me twice, Naruto told her, and with what clones remained charged at the beast once more. As they were attacking the creature, Ino frowned as she spotted her teammate and teacher unleash techniques and coordinated strikes on the beast. The girl knew that both Anko and Naruto were stronger than her by far. With Anko it was a given as she was a jonin, but Ino had to begrudgingly admit that Naruto was much stronger than her. Though it was true he had greatly improved his skills in the following months, Ino didn't think they would have improved this much. I still can't believe he went from dead last to this in such a short time. And here I am being treated like the freaking damsel in distress. She felt useless and Ino hated it. A couple of weeks ago she would not have minded being like that, especially if Sasuke was involved. Much of that had gone away with Anko literally beating that attitude out of her head. Oh, Ino was nowhere as bad as the other fangirls as she had decent skills to back herself up and all. But her mindset of relying on a hero or someone to save her had been shattered. While Ino's like for Sasuke remained, the girl knew she couldn't rely purely on others. Ino was fiercely independent, but her emotions clouded her judgment like most at the time. Ino-san, we have to do something, Hinata said. The Hyuga looked at the two with admiration and envy. Admiration because Naruto had gotten so strong and was doing so well, and envy because she was being protected and not doing much to help. The former heiress of the Hyuga clan didn't want to be useless. For so long she struggled, and still did on occasion, but Hinata didn't have any intention of letting that put her team in danger. Being part of a team, especially with the one she admired the most, she was done with being seen as weak. Ino looked at Hinata, and the Yamanaka heiress noticed a small spark that the shy wallflower usually lacked. Though initially stunned, Ino nodded at her female teammate. Ino wasn't going to stand around and do nothing either. Okay, you guys follow me. Hinata, here's what I need you to do. As the two left to put their plan in motion, Anko and Naruto continued to strike and land blows on the creature. Currently it dove underground and Anko cursed once more. If Midori were her, she'd flush that thing out, she thought before throwing in several kunai laced with exploding tags and making the tunnel collapse. The Jonin doubted it would injure the creature, but at least it would slow it down or prevent it from using it again. Naruto for his part tried to sense the creature's location with his detection skill. So far he wasn't having much luck and made mental note to improve the skill after this was done. Karar! Both Naruto and Anko watched as the roaring creature suddenly burst out of the ground. The action kicking up another small dust storm and sending rocks flying in various directions. The clones Naruto had with him were subsequently destroyed and or sent skidding away harshly from the beast. Naruto had little time to prepare before the creature clamped its dagger-filled mouth on his person, only for it to feel an enormous amount of pain from the explosion the clone dealt. The reeled down Naruto that had been tail lashed by the creature looked on with a shit-eating grin as it writhed in pain. Blood was visible from its mouth, and several teeth were chipped or missing. The blonde wished that the clone had enough chakra in it to end the fight, but with the low amount of chakra he had, the result wasn't as lethal as it could have been. He didn't doubt it hurt like hell though. However, his grin soon left as the creature began to take on a menacing red glow. Its muscles bulged lightly, and a few of the cuts it had hissed and evaporated away as though they were healed. Its bloody mouth looked, while still bloody and nasty looking, had noticeably less blood coming out of it. "Are you shitting me?" Anko, for her part, wasn't liking this either. The former student of Orochimaru had never seen a Jinchuriki in action before but had heard stories about them. If she remembered correctly, the action of tapping into a Bijuu's power gave one a boost in defense, speed, power, and allowed them the ability to perform actions they otherwise could not. While not a Jinchuriki, the flickering red and menacing glow around the creature was similar to the fights she heard about, and Anko was weary. But Anko also noticed something else. It's wincing? True enough, while the creature looked stronger, it also looked like it was in pain as well, judging by the way it was acting. Anko had little time to ponder if this was good or not as the earth behind the creature was lifted. From it a giant scorpion latched onto the lizard's leg and proceeded to jab its stinger repeatedly into its hide. The action eliciting a growl of annoyance, pain, and anger as the lizard tried to snap or fling off the insect. Bark! No sooner had it turned its head was the creature greeted with the high spinning form of Hadamaru's Daitsuga, Great Overfang. With the Ninken's claw lit aflame, the action allowed him to land a deep cut over the creature's eye and face, drawing blood and making it howl at the stinging and burning sensation. The Niken didn't stop there though, and proceeded to jump on the lizard's back and begin racking and hacking at it with all his might. The lizard, unable to reach Hadamaru or Scorpion, bucked like a wild horse in an attempt to throw them off its person. Shoti, palm bottom! Anko looked on stunned as Hinata struck at leg where the scorpion was holding on for dear life. The Jonin continued to watch as she stuck on once more again, and again, before the creature's leg went limp and flapped around like a fish out of water. Karar! The creature roared violently, spun around as best it could, using all its might to rid itself of the pests that were harming it. Hinata was struck first, and sent flying towards a rock formation. Luckily she was caught by Naruto just in time, but the force still had them hit the boulders. The giant scorpion was flung away into a tree, but by that time Ino had relinquished her hold on the creature as the strain became too much for her. Ino had really pushed herself to maintain control of the creature, as it was difficult to manipulate compared to the drone scorpion. She was thoroughly, utterly exhausted at the moment. Hadamara, however, continued to defy the lizard's attempt of bucking him off. The transformed Niken had no intention of letting the creature harm its pack and sunk in his teeth and claws even more into the creature's hide. The lizard wouldn't have any of it though, as it rolled on its back and thrashed around on some rocks. The action harming the Niken and greatly weakening his hold on it long enough for him to be sent off its back. Hadamara shakily landed on the ground and reverted back into his smaller form just as the lizard was almost upon it. Ninpo, Dakaso, Ninja Art, Toxic Luster Claw. A vile and deadly yellowish-green whip sailed through the air as it made its way towards the lizard. Like a red-hot knife cutting into warm butter, the technique easily ate at the flesh of the creature and left several nasty bites in its wake. The harmful bites made it lose focus and miss the Niken entirely. Back and forth Anko whipped the creature with his poisonous technique, never once letting up her assault on the creature that threatened her students. With a final lash, the technique took off a section of the creature's tail and caused it to thrash and roll away, the red glow appearing once more and causing the creature to wince and moan in pain. You succeeded in repelling the powerful FOE. As she landed, Anko huffed, and along with her team watched as the injured lizard hissed angrily at them before it limped on out of the area as fast as it could. The creature had been tough, and Anko wondered if she had made the right choice in fighting it instead of hightailing it out of the battlefield. Hinata had a few decent injuries thanks to the severe whiplash caused by that thing's tail. It could have been worse had Naruto not come to her aid. Ino herself looked exhausted and ready to keel over. It didn't take a genius to know she pushed herself in controlling the scorpion. Naruto and Hadamara looked worse for wear, and the woman knew that the latter's injuries would have been worse had she not interfered. Even then Anko knew that it was her technique that saved the day. The purple-haired kunoichi was thankful that Naruto had given her the technique so many months ago. It had proven very useful in the fight as it ate at the creature's flesh and severed the thing's tail. Ultimately, the Dakaso was the deciding factor in winning the fight. "You guys okay?" Anko asked and received a round of groans all around. "Yeah, you guys are fine," she chuckled. Looking towards the dungeon boss, Anko spotted the body disappear into a shower of particles. Seeing several items lying on the ground, she made her way towards them and grabbed every single piece of the item that appeared. Other than the key and several plate pieces from the scorpion, Anko was unable to make head or tails of the items. With Naruto being the expert, she brought them towards the group and gently placed them down on the ground. "Work your magic, Gaki. What did we get?" she asked him, and Naruto set out by using Observe on the items. Through him they were able to see exactly what the items were. Barbed Tail Key Status Effect unlocks Training Area 9's treasure chest description, a key that is shaped in the form of a scorpion's tail stinger. Sweet! The three kunoichi heard Naruto whoop and hazarded a guess that the item was a good one. Treasure chests generally have a large amount of money in them and other goodies too, though it now presented a small problem. Splitting the money was easy enough, but who was going to get what? "What are these?" Ino asked as she held up a pair of gauntlet-looking items. Dekatsu no Kamu, Dekatsu's Bite, rare quality armor/fist weapon, durability 75/75. At first glance it is a seemingly unassuming gauntlet with no extraordinary features or abilities other than its decent protection. However, it takes after its namesake for a reason, as the clawed weapon allows for exceptional and painful grappling. Additionally, hidden in the gauntlets are two pair of blades that can suddenly pop out and strike out at a foe. The action is sudden and leaves the opponent with little to no time to react. The blades are not the only things to worry about, as they release a corrosive poison that eats away at armor and flesh alike. Attack Power 37 to 51 Requirements: Advanced Academy Taijutsu Mastery Bonus Stats, plus 5 STR, 15% increase in effectiveness towards Taijutsu, plus 20 defense, releases corrosive poison. Anko released a sharp whistle as she and her team read the description. It certainly was impressive, to say the least. But it begged the question on who was going to take it. "You're passing on this one, Gaki," Anko informed him, and Naruto shrugged. While she saw he was slightly bummed at not getting it, there would be better weapons in the future. Naruto already had a weapon too with his Uchigatana, so he could pass on this one in her mind. Which left herself, Ino and Hinata, and Anko personally didn't care for the weapon. "So which one of you gets it?" The most logical choice was Hinata, of course, as her clan specialized in taijutsu, and such a weapon would only complement her fighting style. But at the same time, Anko was trying to prevent them from specializing too much into a particular field. Hinata's gentle fist was already deadly as it was and would only get stronger as she got better. Adding the weapon to it would make it more effective, but at the same time it was kind of predictable too. She was trying to get them to branch out for a reason after all. "Congrats, Blondie, they're yours." Ino was stunned, as she honestly thought Anko would have given them to Hinata. "Me? Why?" Ino asked as she received the weapons. A Hyuga with a taijutsu weapon is not really original or unpredictable. A Yamanaka, however, that's another story. But Hinata's clan specializes in taijutsu. I know, and the enemy knows that too. Anko wasn't surprised really by her reaction. It would take a while before Ino and Hinata came to terms with learning skills that weren't really clan-related in some form or another. Years of being taught otherwise didn't exactly go away overnight after all. Your clan specializes in ninjutsu, and as a result many assume you'll be lacking in close combat. Which unfortunately is true in a sense. The Yamanaka weren't terrible in taijutsu, but they weren't well known for it, or the greatest in the art either. Anko partially blamed it due to their century-old reliance on their teamwork with the Akimichi and Nara. The Akimichi were the muscle and heavy hitters thanks to their physical strengths and body-altering ninjutsu, while the Nara were the strategists and ones who ensnared and captured their prey, which then allowed the Yamanaka to fuck with their minds. The Yamanakas were the infiltrators, as she heard the more gifted members could take on the mannerisms and habits of whom they took over almost perfectly. A ninja is to be unpredictable and be unexpected. After I'm through with you three people and your opponents will be left wondering what the hell is going on, Anko grinned. But first we need to shape you guys up. So, like I said, take Blondie. Reluctantly, Ino put on the gauntlet-like weapons and found to her surprise that they were pretty light. Wish they came in another color though, Ino muttered. Details? What's next? Anko asked. A recipe for minor scorpion corrosive poison and 2 minor-grade scorpion poison vials. Naruto knew a bit about poisons but wasn't really all that interested in learning anything more than the basics. Probably best if you or Ino got them, Naruto said. How come? Your status window says you two get an increased bonus when it comes to learning and using poison-based skills, Naruto explained. Really? Anko was intrigued. The prospect of knowing what they'd be good at would greatly help her out. What else do we have? Rather than use observe, Naruto merely told them to say status window and see for themselves. Anko was greatly surprised to see some of the perks she and her kunoichi students had. Naruto's status window wasn't visible at the moment, and the woman knew he was trying to hide his Jinchuriki status. Learning too much about such an impossible thing in one day could be overwhelming after all. So my hunch was right on you too, Anko hummed. Hinata, as she suspected, would become the team medic because of her chakra control levels and the perks she had. Anko didn't care at all for the mild diffidence status effect and planned on getting rid of the damned thing as best as she could. Anko would have to be patient though, as it wasn't going to be an easy or quick process. But knew that having her learn a skill she'd be good at would help. It was a win-win situation as medics were a valuable part of the team. Even with that thing she still managed to buck up and face that thing head-on. It made her wonder what she would be like without it. Ino, she noted, could be a medic too to a certain extent, more so as a backup, but her gift and forte would be more towards poisons, seduction, and infiltration. Which meant she'd have to up the girl's training in taijutsu and refine her more feminine qualities. Much of the girl's perks mimicked Anko's own, so the leader of Team 8 would be able to teach her more than the others. Anko didn't believe in favoritism, but she knew how to play with the hand she was dealt. Naruto-kun, what are these attribute points for? Hinata asked. That's simple. Some actions you do will increase your stats, but it can take a while to do. Attribute points happen when you level up or can be gained as a mission reward, and you can use them to increase any of your stats. I use them mostly on my WIS to improve my chakra control, he informed his teammates. The Gaki had one of the worst controls someone had over his or her chakra I've ever seen. It's not the greatest at the moment, but it ain't nowhere as bad as it used to be. The woman tended to romanticize things a bit, but in this case Naruto had to begrudgingly agree with Anko with this. So you basically put them where you were lacking, Ino said, and Naruto nodded. He had allocated them elsewhere as well, but it was more or less the case. Having a ton of chakra was good and all, but having a good amount of control meant he could use the bare minimum, and resulted in little to no waste in chakra as well. From what I'm seeing, WIS and DX are the least of our problems while everything else is. Ino frowned and wondered where exactly she should allocate her attribute points. For now, put them all into your VIT, Blondie. Same with you, Pale Eyes, Anko ordered. At the moment, Ino had the lowest HP out of all of them, with Hinata soon after her. Both of their chakra levels weren't the greatest either, Ino once more being the lowest, but Anko would prefer her students to have larger health pools and stamina levels than a chakra pool at the moment. Doing as instructed, and being shown by Naruto, Ino and Hinata soon felt themselves less tired as they confirmed their stats allocation. Tired and weary still, but less so. That was strange but good, right? Ino asked her fellow kunoichi teammate. Hinata could only nod at the odd and foreign sensation. You get used to it, Naruto grinned and soon had a glint in his eyes. Now, let's go find us that treasure chest. Finding the chest had not been all that difficult. Much like the other times he had to find the chests, this one was located near the dungeon exit. Of course, they had to fight off a few scorpions on the way. Most of them had been taken care of by Anko or Naruto because of how tired and weak Ino and Hinata were. But even with Naruto's formidable stamina and endurance, the group knew he was pushing himself. Having to fight most of the battle and 2 bosses with many chakra draining techniques who do that to a person. But not once did Naruto complain, especially when they opened the treasure chest. Inside had been a heaping 60,000 ryo that was split 4 ways. As a result, each member of Team 8, minus Hotemaru of course, received a decent 15,000 Ryo in the process. Inside had also been 2 scrolls. One was basic poisons and antidotes skill that had been given to Ino, while the other was a common but effective technique known as Ninpo, Dokujiri, Ninja Art, Poison Mist. Once more the technique had been given to Ino, as with her perks it was logical. Your Observe skill has leveled up by 1. Congratulations, you have mastered the Observe skill. Observe, LV, Max. This skill allows the user to see the target's max HP, max CP, rank, money amount, their history, elemental affinity, most used technique, and a lot of other information. Can now also be used on items such as weapons, armor, and scrolls. Your current skill allows you to display information you've read about the individual and allows for even more information to be seen. Your current skill level now allows you to see through basic genjutsu and the henge of individuals an additional 15 levels higher than you. Individuals with huge levels gaps will have a question mark instead of a numbers, but you can now see information on their perks. Sweet. Naruto especially enjoyed the additional features of the technique. But the boy's mood changed as he saw Hinata. Sorry, Pale Eyes, Anko felt bad that Hinata hadn't gotten anything other than the money. Truthfully, she doubted the girl needed it because her father was the clan head, and she most likely had a decent amount of money already. It's alright, Anko-sensei, Hinata reassured her. Truthfully though, the young had been a little disappointed for not getting anything. It's not a big deal, Hinata. The slightly downed Hyuga looked at a grinning Naruto. There's tons of dungeons out there, and I'll betcha that there's bound to be something that will suit you. The Gaki's right, Pale Eyes. Sooner or later you'll get something. Anko smiled and pulled the girl into a one-armed hug. Don't worry about it. Good things come to those who wait, as they say. Hi. Hinata nodded, and her mood, even if it was lightly, perked up at the words of comfort. First though, we need to get out of here. Gaki, take us home. The boy didn't need to be told twice and subsequently shouted out a command before each and every one of them found themselves back into the mundane version of Training Ground 9. Ugh, both Ino and Hinata groaned. That sucked. Little warning next time, Naruto, Ino grunted before she put her head between her legs. The 3 other members of Team 8 waited a good few minutes or so before Ino and Hinata felt fine to move again. Once they were ready, Anko ordered her team that they were heading to the Hokage Tower to hand in the report. Afterwards she decided that they'd call it a day. As they ascended the stairs to the Hokage's office, Team 8 passed by several jonin and their respective teams of their own. All of them were older teams that had been around for more than a year or so, and many looked perplexed at the state they were in. Yash! Anko-san! Oh shit! Of all the rotten timing! Anko groused and cursed her rotten luck. The woman really didn't want to deal with this right now. Hey, what's up, guy? Nothing much, my youthful friend. The eccentric taijutsu virtuoso master of Konoha grinned at the woman before directing his attention to the genin. Oh ho. So the rumors of you having a team are true? He beamed. Yep, they're still wet behind the ears and still need a little tuning up, but they'll get there eventually. Teammate, this is Mato Guy. He's Konoha's foremost taijutsu expert and master. Hell, probably in all of Hai no Kuni. Guy, this is Teammate. That's Gaki, Blondie, and Pale's Eyes. Arf. Hadamaru barked at being left out. Oh yeah, and that's Puchigaki. Grr. We have names, you know, Ino and Naruto deadpanned as the woman shrugged. Leave it to Anko to introduce them by their nicknames. I'm Yamanaka Ino, that's Hyuga Hinata, that's Hadamaru, and that idiot's Uzumaki Naruto. She smirked as her teammate gave her a look for the idiot comment. Yes, Konoha's resident prankster, Guy nodded. The man had seen a few of the boys' pranks on occasion, and thought them to have been creative to say the least. Got a problem with my pranks, Gekimea-sensei, intense eyebrows master? Naruto was a little defensive. While Guy blinked at the name he was given. Baka! Ino knew Naruto was slow at times, but this was taking then cake. No matter how truthfully the name fit. However, before she could apologize and reprimand him, both Anko and Guy burst out laughing instead. Gekimeu? That's a new one, the man chuckled, much to Naruto's surprise. The hell, Ino half-guessed the man to get angry, not laugh it off. The ninja world was full of weirdos, it seemed. Say, Guy, where's your team? Anko asked. They didn't die from overkill, did they? I really like Tenten. No, my glorious students are off today. Lee's running laps around Konoha last I heard. He started an hour ago, so he should be on lap 54 by now, he mused while Ino and Naruto's eyes threatened to bulge out. 50 laps around Konoha in an hour. The idea of a genin capable of doing that was nuts in their minds. Naruto considered himself strong and had immense stamina compared to other genin, but even he doubted he'd be capable of doing what this Lee character was doing. I need to up my training, he thought. If there were people close to his age that were capable of doing such a thing, then Naruto knew others would reach the Hokage title before him. Tenten's running her family shop and Niji I think is at the Hyuga compound, he said, and neither he or Anko didn't miss the way Anko's Hyuga genin flinch at the mention of his name. So this is the clan's former heiress and Niji's cousin. Guy wasn't the most astute individual in the world, but he was quite perceptive and attentive. The man had heard about his student's cousin, having seen her the odd time and everything else. The man frowned internally as the girl before him didn't have the arrogance or haughty demeanor that most main family members had. It was evident by the way she moved and stood that she was lacking in confidence and had some emotional baggage. It was nothing like Niji had mentioned before. Even now his anger still clouds his judgment, the man thought before putting the thoughts away. Well, I'm off to see how Lee's doing, Anko-san. Enjoy teaching, he said and gave the woman his well-known nice guy pose. To the astonishment of Naruto and Ino, the pose included a thumbs up, winking, and smiling with teeth so white they give off a proverbial ping. As he left in a blur, Naruto and Ino were left stunned and motionless. Does that always happen? Trust me, I've seen something far worse. Anko shuddered at the horrible memory. Make no mistake, Guy's an odd duck, and that was putting it extremely lightly, but the man's easily one of Konoha's most powerful ninja. His taijutsu is frightening and second to none in Hai no Kuni. Anko didn't know the true extent of the man's power, but Anko guessed it would be devastating if the man went all out. Continuing on their original trek to the Hokage's office, Anko informed the secretary, and only needed to wait less than 10 seconds before they were permitted to enter. Teammate is back from their mission, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen was about to congratulate them, but that was before he saw a grinning, cut and bruised covered Anko saluting the elderly village leader. Hiruzen merely batted his eyes, once and then twice before he took a deep breath and then proceeded to rub his temples. Hiruzen tried to stifle the migraine he knew was about to show itself as best he could. Anko, would you mind telling me why your team looks as though they went into a battlefield? The man exaggerated, but the scene before spoke for itself. Naruto and Hadamaru were ragged and looked as though they had taken the worst of it, judging by the cuts and bruises Hiruzen spotted on the boy's face. He also observed that despite the former being known for his stamina, the boy had quite a large amount of sweat, and his breathing looked rapid. Ino and Hinata both looked ready to keel over and had a decent amount of cuts and bruises as well. From teammates' appearance, Hiruzen thought they had gone through a meat grinder. Well, she drawled, it may have gotten a little rough. Anko laughed a bit, and had a sheepish look adorning her face. But on the bright side, we came out stronger than ever. Speak for yourself, Anko-sensei. All three genin thought. Are they all right? Hiruzen asked. Nothing a quick trip to the hospital won't fix. Anko smiled but winced lightly and held her side a little more tightly. Hiruzen guessed the woman sported either a fractured or broken rib at the moment. She was definitely doing a lousy job hiding it, but an excellent one at suppressing the pain. I see. At any rate, your team did a fine job getting rid of those scorpions. As of now, the training area can once again be used for training once more. Should another event such as this occur, do you think your team will be able to undertake it? You damn well know it, Anko grinned and winced once more. No pain, no gain is my motto. How many freaking mottos does she have? Ino, Naruto, and Hiruzen simultaneously thought. Though the genin couldn't help but agree that Anko certainly lived up to the pain aspect of the saying. Freaking lizard. I wished I kicked his ass. Lizard? Hiruzen asked. I thought I sent you to deal with a scorpion infestation? Yeah, we may have run into a little snag at the end of the mission, Anko said. Explain. Anko recognized Hiruzen's tone as one that left little for argument. For the next little while, Anko explained what occurred during the mission with vivid details. Hiruzen, for his part, remained impassive as he listened to the newly promoted Jonin and never said a word as the woman told the story. As Anko ended the mission brief, Hiruzen released a deep sigh, and Anko could not tell if such a thing was good or bad. So they know? About the Gaki's ability, yeah, Anko informed him. Though Hiruzen knew Anko wouldn't be standing before him if she told them about the abyss without their permission. Even with the seals, the fewer who knew about the mysterious and highly elusive organization, the better. The same went for Naruto's ability. Hiruzen would make a point to give the Mito seal to help prevent the information from being forcibly taken from them. Though you succeeded, I wish the mission ended on better terms and without risking the safety of others. Here he sent a look at Anko and Naruto, and both winced. However, Hiruzen also knew where Anko came from when she made her decision. In the ninja world, one needed to adapt to any situation that presented itself. It was either do or die. But on the other hand, teammate did accomplish their first C rank, if not B rank, mission. Congratulations, he smiled as the team perked up. But next time, try and show a little more decorum for one of your rank, Anko. Quest completed. Stingers, pincers, and venom. Oh shit! Main quest: clear training area 8 of scorpions, kill 30 scorpion drones, 15 soldiers, and 5 giant scorpions. Accomplished. Side quest: defeat scorpion boss. Accomplished. Bonus quest: defeat the unknown creature. Accomplished. Total rewards 8,000 EXP, 25,000 Ryo, plus 450 reputation with Konoha, allowed to undertake more C-rank missions. Chain quest unlocked. Plus 3 stats will try, Anko said, and made Hiruzen sigh as he knew it was the best he was gonna get from the woman. Hiruzen merely shook his head before he passed on the pay, plus a little extra, to the team. As she dismissed them, Hiruzen told Anko to stay behind, and from his look she understood it was important. What is it, Hokage-sama? The elderly Kage released a wisp of smoke from his mouth before he began. You said that creature you faced began to pulse and radiate with an unnatural chakra? Yeah, it was weird. One moment the damn thing looked like it wanted to rip us to shreds, and the next it looked like it was in pain and made a run for it. Why? Something wrong? Anko had her suspicion that the man knew something. He wouldn't have asked otherwise. Hopefully it's nothing, and I'll have some ninja keep an eye and ear out for that thing. But knowing your luck and Naruto's ability, I'd hazard a guess you will encounter that creature again. Unfortunately, that creature will be stronger and more deadlier than ever once it undergoes its metamorphosis, Hiruzen sighed. It's rare for such a thing to occur, but from what you've described, the chances of it happening are high. Chakra mutations are sometimes known to mutate even further, and when they do, it will not be an easy fight. Luckily, your description indicates that it's only in the beginning stages. At the moment, it will be at its most weakest and seek shelter someplace hidden enough that it can feed but remain safe until the process is complete. How long till this thing's done with its change? Anko needed to know. She had to prepare her team as much as she could if or when the damn reptile came back for some payback. Such a metamorphosis is hard to determine. It depends on the creature, really. But if I'd hazard a guess, 3 maybe 4 months before it enters or completes its final stage of change. You'd better prepare your genin for what may come, Anko. I've dealt with a few of these creatures, before there was even a Konoha, and believe me when I say this, don't let anything up to chance. If you do, you'll come to regret it. From the way Hiruzen spoke, Anko had the distinct impression the man was speaking from personal experience rather than an indirect one. Even before he became Hokage, Anko heard how Hiruzen had already been a Kage-level shinobi in his earlier 20s. Kage-level shinobi were rare nowadays compared to back then, with it being even rarer still at such a young age. But from the man's posture and the subtle shifts in tone, Anko knew that the man had faced off against an exceptionally powerful creature and took the lives of those close to him. Anko wasn't about to let that happen to her team. Anko was many things: promiscuous, insatiable, outspoken, etc. Despite her reservation, she grew fond of Naruto and Hadamaru over time, and steadily she knew she was growing fond of both Hinata and Ino. And Anko would sooner die or let herself be dragged to hell than be the cause of her team's death. Even if it means making a deal with the King of Hell himself, Anko resolutely declared. Finishing up the brief, Anko left to make plans for both her team and herself. They needed to get stronger. And come hell or high water, Anko was going to make they were prepared for the cruel and unforgiving world ahead of them. She'd do it even if they ended up hating her guts and more for it. Though her sore body had other plans as another shout of pain was felt, hospital first, torture later, she winced and held her side and made her towards the Konoha general. The next day, "This is so not fair," Ino complained as she nursed her still aching body. Hinata wasn't faring any better either herself, despite both of them going to the hospital the other day and using some of their clan's own remedies. The Yamanaka clan had herbs that helped speed up the recovery process of wounded ninja, but the effects were gradual. The Hyuga clan, she knew, had a special ointment that pretty much did the same thing. Even then, it would take more than a night's rest for both Ino and Hinata to fully heal from their injuries. Yet Naruto and Hadamara stood before them fresh as daisies and no worse for wear. Not a scratch or bruise was visible on either one of them. Both looked ready to take on the world if the grins were evident on their faces. And it pissed Ino off. "This is all because of that stupid ability of yours," Ino said. "How the hell do you get something that useful anyway?" "Playing video games," Naruto stated with a shrug. Truthfully, he didn't know how it came to be, but Naruto assumed his love of video games played some part in it. It made sense in a weird sort of way. "All I know is that every morning when I wake up, any injury I had disappears and all my chakra comes back after a good night's sleep." This is total bullshit. Ino knew the dungeon creation thing was unique and incredible, but for his ability to allow this sort of thing was nuts in her mind. It seriously wasn't fair. Before she could say anything else, the leader and mentor of the group appeared in a swirl of leaves and dust. "All right, twerps, listen up," Anko ordered, and all four stood at attention. "Now here's the good news. Because of what happened the other day, we've been giving the green light on getting to do more C-rank missions." "Hell yeah!" Naruto whopped. So far he liked the news, and the looks on the other members' faces spoke for themselves. "Settle down, Gaki." Anko didn't like the interruption but couldn't fault him on it either. Any more D-rank missions and Anko was ready to go nuts. "Bad news is that we still gotta do some D-rank missions, not as much, but we still gotta do some." As their groans were heard, Anko shared in their despondence. It could have been worse in her mind, but even then she agreed. D-rank missions, other than the Torah retrieval one, were a waste of time in the woman's mind. "The other bad news is for you, actually." Anko proceeded to crack her knuckles, one by one. All four before gulped and subconsciously took a step back. "Like I said yesterday, I'm gonna be upping your training. That last mission was a wake-up call. Had the Gaki not been there, you'd all be dead. Had I not been there for the second half, even the Gaki would have most likely died. As of now, the kitty gloves are coming off. Are you ready?" "I can barely stand," Ino began, but soon found herself gasping for air. "Death does not wait for you to be ready," Anko shouted as she kicked the girl. "Death is not considerate or fair." Here she rounded on Hinata and sent the Hyuga girl sprawling with a kick. "And make no mistake, here in the ninja world you face death," she said, and had Naruto pinned down, a kunai pressed against his jugular. All of this occurred in the span of less than 6 seconds. Within 6 seconds, all 3 genin had been defeated while Hadamara was subdued by Midori herself. Anko proceeded to get off Naruto and dusted herself. "Make no mistake. All of you have potential, but that potential don't mean shit if you're dead. In the ninja world, you go all out or stay home. There will come a time where I won't be there to save your ass. And trust me, there are much worse things than death." She looked at Ino and Hinata specifically. "Now to start, Gaki, what's everybody's level again?" Anko asked. As they were no longer in his group, or party, none of them could see the levels anymore. "I'm level 19, Hato's 16, Ino is 14, Hinata is level 15, and you're level 39. Still can't believe the dog's stronger than us." Ino frowned and glared as the Niken puffed out a bit. "Not really, Hato's stats are pretty much the same as yours and Hinata's." What he said deflated Hadamara's ego a bit, but to Ino it still wasn't all that comforting. "Plus he's a battle pet, so it's up to me to place his stats." The boy received a blank look at the term battle pet. "Okay, this is gonna take a while. Better give them the rundown version, Gaki." The more aware and understanding they had about his ability, the better. For the next several minutes or so, Naruto began to explain the ins and outs of video games and his ability as best her could. From common things such as equipment they could wear as well as stats, and what they represented to the more complex terminology. Never knew you were a nerd, Naruto, Ino smirked as Naruto sputtered. I'm no nerd, he retorted, but all he got was a laugh from his team. Hey! I'm the one saving your ass and keeping you alive by telling you this, Databeo. Damn! I thought he stopped that crap. Anko thought the verbal tick was annoying as hell. The woman thought it to be as annoying as Uzumaki Kushina's own. Wait a minute. Holy shit! A wide-eyed and stunned Anko looked at Naruto with realization dawning on her. Her mind now making the connection between her student and the late Kunoichi. How the fuck did I miss that? Anko had not known Kushina on a personal level. Their relationship had been more that of acquaintances than friends. However, Anko knew Kushina enough that she was the only person in Konoha who had such a verbal tick. To think she of all people would have a kid. Anko and many had heard how Kushina had gone about saying she'd become the next Hokage after Hiruzen. The woman had also emphasized that having a kid was the last thing on her mind, as a village leader needed to be powerful. Getting pregnant would hamper that strength and make her vulnerable. But as strong as she was and despite her reputation, Kushina had not counted on Namike's Minato. Oh, Kushina was strong all right, easily one of the strongest Kunoichi Konoha had at the time, but she was nowhere near Minato's level. A Hokage, a Kage in general really, needed to stand out in terms of power and reputation. Otherwise it would end badly for the village's reputation. Kushina was much stronger than the average jonin, and her reputation during her time as a ninja and the last war had ranked her as an A-rank threat. But despite those accomplishments she wasn't at Kage level. Unless you count her pranks. Oh man, I'm an idiot. Anko wanted to bash her head in for such an oversight. It was clear as day that Naruto was her son. While it wasn't uncommon for people to share last names, the verbal tick and love of pranks were too much of a coincidence. But it begged the question, why is Hokage-sama keeping the Gaki and Kushina's relationship a secret? This thought only led to more questions in Anko's mind. For now she'd play it by ear. If the Hokage kept it a secret, then it was most likely extremely important, and meant it was to protect Naruto as well. Anko knew she'd have to discreetly do some digging of her own when she got the chance. Anko-sensei? The woman was cut off from her thoughts as her meek student called out to her. Ino-san, let's take it back. Ino shouted as she tightened the armlock she had on Naruto's neck. Never, piggy! He responded, and as a result she tightened her hold on his throat. Normally it would have been a feeble attempt as Naruto had greater physical strength. What the blonde male hadn't counted on was the girl locking her legs around his waist, and her arms around his neck and holding on like a vice grip. Kinda sloppy but not bad, Anko assessed and wanted to laugh as she saw Naruto try to buck her off like a wild horse. Hey, lovebirds! Get a room already! Lovebirds? A stunned Hinata thought before another more assertive thought rang. The hell that's happening? Me and her/me and him. Ino and Naruto both said and looked at one another. Hells no, they declared. Rio, for every time I've heard that one, Anko mentally snorted before focusing. Young romance aside, she ignored their dirty looks and took out some chakra paper, front and center you two. She ordered Ino and Hinata. Anko-sensei, aren't those chakra papers? Naruto asked. Good eye, Gaki. Like he said, this is chakra paper and it'll help determine what your nature affinity is, she said, and gave each kunoichi a piece of paper and explained the fundamentals behind the results and how to achieve it. So all we do is channel our chakra into it? Ino asked and shrugged. The task was simple enough in her mind and Ino wasn't going to complain. Both Ino and Hinata concentrated and channeled their chakra into the pieces of paper. With their chakra control being much better than Naruto's when he first attempted the same thing, the results were much quicker. For Ino, Anko wasn't surprised to see her paper crinkle up. Due to her interaction with several Yamanaka, Anko knew that many in Ino's clan had a history when it came to having a lightning affinity. As they were mind manipulators, and the mind itself was powered and controlled via electrical signals, it was no surprise that she would have such an affinity. For Hinata, she was genuinely surprised to see it becoming wet. Compared to the Yamanaka, Anko had little knowledge on the Hyuga except for the basics. The woman had been informed by Kurenai that the most common element was actually earth and fire, two of water's opposing natures. So we got a lightning user and a water user, Anko mused and frowned lightly. Anko had a fire and earth affinity, so she wouldn't be of much help in training either kunoichi in their respective elements. The downside is I can't help you all that much with your affinities. But on the plus side, you two have affinities that make for great versatile and powerful combination attacks. Versatile? Naruto asked. Lightning is considered by many as one of the most, if not the most powerful primary element because of its destructive capabilities. It was a debate that many still had to this day. The only problem is that lightning attacks are pretty much linear and hard to control which direction you want it to go in. With a large amount of practice you may be able to make it change direction, but even the experts of Raiton have trouble doing this. That's where water comes into play. Suiton is the most fluid of the elements, and can change its direction on whim. Water's also a natural conductor, which means that combining lightning with it will make it stronger and more versatile. Here she sheepishly scratched her head. Problem is that next to wind, lightning is kind of an uncommon element in Hai no Kuni. Anko knew that with this Rai no Kuni it would be different. However, Konoha and Kyuubi still weren't on the best terms ever since the Hyuga incident. Relations were slowly on the mend, but many were slow to forgive and forget. So how do we fix this? Ino asked. She didn't doubt that same in her clan knew the odd elemental ninjutsu, but it was common stuff. Her clan specialized in mind manipulation, making poisons, and infiltration. It was the reason why she got the items and techniques from yesterday. Elemental ninjutsu, much like taijutsu, had never been one of her clan's fortes or more commonly practiced skills. Ano, my clan doesn't really approve of using anything other than our fighting style. Hinata held her head low and caused Anko to groan. It was no secret how much the Hyuga clan prided themselves on their famous gentle fist fighting style. Learning medical ninjutsu was one thing, but learning another fighting style was something completely different. Anko would not deny that their fighting style fearsome reputation and that it was very deadly. Despite its name, Anko heard that the fighting had several mid- and long-range techniques. Techniques that were both offensive and defensive and all revolved around chakra manipulation. The only problem was that Hinata's skill was nowhere near the level needed to use those kinds of techniques. We'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Anko didn't really want to deal with political bullshit, but she was tasked with keeping her student alive, and that's what she was setting out to do. To start, we're heading to the archive library. The what? Naruto asked. You seriously don't know what the archive library is? They taught us that in year 1. Ino practically shouted at the embarrassed blonde. It's where Konoha keeps most of its ninja-related information. From former ninja that Konoha had to knowledge on certain techniques. Wait, they have ninjutsu? Naruto suddenly asked, a glint in his eyes. Duh. What part of everything that's ninja-related did you not get? Ino rolled her eyes as Naruto began fantasizing. If you paid attention in class, you'd also know that as genin we have limited access to everything in there. Idiot, she muttered as Naruto visibly slumped. Ah man, Naruto whined. The prospect of learning a bunch of potential techniques had gone up in smoke. Yeah, that reminds me. Before you try to learn anything, let me see it first so I know if they have a copy or if I need to make one, Anko said. Last thing I want is for you to learn something, and it's all the information we have on it. Huh? Ino and Hinata wondered what she was referring to. The Gaki's ability allows him to learn most skills from a book or scroll instantly. But as a result, the medium is destroyed in the process, Anko informed them. Okay, the more I hear about his ability, the more pissed off I get about how unfair it is, Ino grumbled/whined. What took such a long time for others took seconds for Naruto to learn. Ino had been going over the concept of the ninpo, dokujiri, and knew it would take some time before she could get it down. Ah, is someone jealous? Anko gushed and hugged an embarrassed Ino. Meh, don't worry about it. I got a few tricks up my sleeve only you can learn anyway, Anko whispered lowly, and Ino smirked the prospect. Look unfair as his ability is. What the hell are you guys bitching about? You know that you guys get to do the same thing when you're teamed up with me? He said as though it was the most obvious thing in the world. What? Anko asked lowly and rounded on her senior student. Are you saying we could have learned stuff the same way you do? Yeah, but I told you that months ago. The boy didn't know what Anko was getting so worked up about. Said woman released a mirthless chuckle that made Ino, Hinata, and Hadamaro back away from Naruto and their teacher. Oh, Gaki. You said no such thing. And before you interrupt me, she held up a finger to stop him. Let me say this. 4 months. It took me 4 freakishly long months before I managed to get the Ninpo, Dakaso no Jutsu, ninja art, toxic luster claw technique, down to a decent level. Had I been informed I could have learned it more quickly, then don't you think I would have used it by now? She smiled. Naruto slowly realized there was some truth to the woman's words. Which meant one simple thing. He fucked up, oops. Yeah, oops. Anko had her eyes closed as she nodded. Here's something else you forgot about, Gaki. Like you, I'm a prankster, and I'll be getting you back for this when you least expect it. Arf. Hadamaro promptly hid behind Hinata as he heard this. The poor Niken still remembered the last time Anko had pranked both of them, and he was in no hurry to experience it again. Oh, relax, mutt. I ain't gonna get you this time. This is between the Gaki and me, she grinned and ruffled Naruto's head. The boy showed no emotion on the outside but was internally weeping. Anko's pranks were devious and downright impossible to predict. Oh, shit, I fucked up badly, didn't I? It was a dumb question to ask. For Naruto already knew the answer. You're just realizing that now, dumbass? Ino smirked and crossed her arms. It was a rhetorical question, piggy! Naruto shouted and huffed childishly, earning a chuckle from Hinata and missing the look in Ino's eye for the insult. Oh, you're gonna pay for that, Naruto baka. Ino wasn't a prankster, but she was devious as any other woman scorned. And she loved serving up revenge ice cold. Seeing the look in her students made Anko realize she wasn't going to be alone in this prank. But the Jonin pushed such plans for revenge aside and ordered Naruto to invite them into his party before she had the team hustle to the archive library. Konoha Archive Library. Okay, let's see what we got here. Anko browsed through the scrolls that her team would be allowed to look at. Some of them were basic and not that great, but it would help them get a better idea when they started learning the more complex stuff. Naruto was the exception, of course. For Ino and Hinata, Anko was looking for basic information on their nature affinity and how to better teach them. Keitai Henka, shape transformation, and Saishitsu Henka, nature transformation, wouldn't be made available for them until after they got a decent grasp of the basics. Converting one's chakra into an element was easy compared to mastering nature transformation, as the latter was a much more complex art form. It was generally learned when one wished to create their own personal technique, or change the properties of an existing one. Such a thing was out of their league at the moment, but both would need to learn some elemental ninjutsu if they were to survive. She counted her blessings that Naruto's ability allowed them to learn techniques instantly. It would greatly speed things up. However, Anko knew that Naruto had both a natural knack for elemental ninjutsu and had more chakra compared to Ino and Hinata, meaning that the higher tier stuff would have to be left on the shelf for now. As she continued to look, Anko spotted a scroll that she knew would benefit Hinata. Basic medical ninjutsu. She took the scroll and gave it a once-over. Anko herself knew a bit about medicine and some minor medical ninjutsu, but it was more so on minor injuries. The more advanced stuff she knew was on how to extract certain poisons and making antidotes, than anything else. While the scroll held basic information on medical ninjutsu, Anko knew that even the basics of the art were very complex, and one needed a certain knack for it to go beyond the basics. While Anko searched for scrolls for Ino and Hinata, Naruto was looking through a series of scrolls himself. In this case, the scrolls he was looking at were taijutsu ones. The last battle had taught him that he needed to improve his hand-to-hand combat. Good as he was, he really needed to improve and find a suitable fighting taijutsu when faced against stronger foes. The only problem was that his choice was limited, and many of the taijutsu had requirements that he didn't fulfill or conflicted with his fighting styles. Beginner's Tekken, Iron Fist, a hard-type fighting style that revolves mostly on one's fist and using it in various ways such as knife hand chops, spear hand thrusts, and various fist-like techniques. The style requires one to break, calcify, and strengthen the bones in their arms and fists to increase the effectiveness and power. Alternatively, a person with an earth affinity could channel Doton chakra around their arms instead. As a result, the moves would be more powerful, but they'd also be slower and slightly more noticeable and sluggish. Nope. This was his 6th scroll and Naruto was starting to get annoyed. None of the scrolls he found felt right to him, or he felt would complement his fighting style. The last ones were known as Judo, Gentle Way, and Hikaken, Chop Hanging Fists. The latter one being based somewhat off the Hyuga's clan's Juken, Gentle Fist. The problem with the one he just read was that Naruto didn't have an earth affinity, and he wasn't too keen on breaking his bones despite his healing ability. The fact that it relied heavily on punches and had little use of his legs was a no-go too. Fists were fine and all, but Hate and Yugao had told him that a ninja used every part of their body as a weapon. On the plus side, it would have given Ino and Hinata the opportunity to heal him and increase their medical ninjutsu levels. Yeah, right. Knowing Ino, she'd have me owe her a favor every time I need healing, Naruto muttered. The girl was a lot like Anko's sadistic wise. Nowhere as bad, but he had the impression she'd get there eventually the way they got along. Taking out another scroll, Naruto began to read it. Beginner's Shurshur Kumite, 8 Limbs Kata. The teachings of this taijutsu style revolves on how to deliver and perform devastating and swift blows with their fists, elbows, knees, and kicks. Grappling also plays an important role as to not only prevent one's opponent from breaking free while strikes are being landed on them, but for using certain techniques at their fullest. So far Naruto was intrigued by the taijutsu, more so than the others anyway. Sorry, boss, Naruto heard one of his clones say. The only decent ninjutsu we could find were Futon, Daitapa no Jutsu, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough Technique, and Ninpo, Chakra Nagashi no Jutsu, Ninja Art, Chakra Flow Technique. All the other stuff was basic, or we already knew it. Naruto grabbed the scrolls and then made the clones disappear in a poof of smoke. Finding 3 useful scrolls wasn't a total loss, but Naruto was disappointed at the moment considering he wished to have found more. At least now my sword strikes will be stronger, he said as he gave the scroll a look over. In the end it was better than nothing really. Not the greatest but not bad either. Naruto continued to search for a while longer before Ino and Hinata informed him that Anko was looking for them. Like him, the two were carrying a small amount of scrolls as well. Naruto really hated the limitations that genin had when it came to learning new techniques. Then again, it made sense, as well as some genin tended to do too much too soon. Okay, give them here and let's see what you have for me, Anko ordered, and then proceeded to go over the scrolls they had. For the scrolls she accepted, Anko placed them on the left, and vice versa in the opposite direction with those she thought otherwise. So 9 scrolls in total. Anko wished it had been more, but wasn't a bad number. Guess we'll have to make the most of it. Good choice on your picks, Gaki. About time you know more than the Academy Taijutsu. Same with you, Blondie, with the Raiton, Jibashi, Lighting Release, Electromagnetic Murder scroll. It's basic, but as you get better it can get pretty nasty, Anko said and handed her another scroll. What's this? Ino asked. A taijutsu style called Gekikyaku, Violent Legs. Short and sweet version is that it has a high emphasis on speed, flexibility, and using your legs to attack while using your upper body to defend, grapple, and help perform some moves. With your natural grace, I thought it suited you, Anko said. The woman also had the intent to teach her a bit of contortionism as well to complement the fighting style too. Of course, we're gonna have to increase your STR and VIT to make it more effective. Your perks will more or less take care of your DX, but we'll still gonna work on your flexibility and speed. She grinned and Ino began to worry. From the way the fighting style sounded, Ino had the impression her legs were going to be sore as hell. For you, Pale Eyes, I found a few books on basic herbalism, and 3 decent Suiton techniques called Su Sui, Water Hammer, Mizuhari, Water Needle, and Sui Ben, Water Whip. They're all D rank but require a great deal of control instead of power. The latter 2 are range techniques, while the first one's close range and basically act as a strength enhancer and protection. Anko finished her explanation. Soon after, the woman grabbed copies from one of the workers and made 1 copy of the Shurshur Kumite. The woman then led her team towards a training ground 9, the normal one instead of the dungeon one, and then tossed them their scrolls. Well, enough, gawking kiddos. Start learning. She grinned. Naruto reciprocated the action. The blonde didn't have to be told twice, and eagerly did he learn his techniques. The boy clicked on all yes for all 3, and his face threatened to split in 2 as windows popped up in front of him. You've replaced Advanced Academy Taijutsu with Beginner Shushuryumite, 8 Limbs Kata. You've learned Chakura Nagashi no Jutsu, Chakra Flow Technique. You've learned Futon, Daitapa no Jutsu, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough Technique. Beginner Shushuryumite, 8 Limbs Kata, no rank. LV1 0% per 100%. The basic fundamentals of this taijutsu style revolves on how to use one's momentum to deliver and perform devastating and swift blows with their fists, elbows, knees, and kicks. Asterisk passively grants plus 15 STR asterisk passively grants plus 15 DX asterisk increases STR by 15% during combat asterisk increases DX by 15% during combat asterisk increases movement speed and critical strikes during combat by 15% Futon, Daitapa no Jutsu, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough Technique, C rank LV1. 0% per 100%. CP usage varies based on amount of chakra. One of the few techniques that exists that has no set power level. When used, it can cause nothing more than a strong gust of wind that can knock others over. At other, it has enough destructive power to knock down a large tree or blow away all things in the user's line of sight. Asterisk chances of knocking or sending others flying 45 to 55%, Wind Affinity, asterisk does 173.6 to 223.6 damage, Wind Affinity, asterisk chances of causing concussion status effect 50% Chakura Nagashi no Jutsu, Chakra Flow Technique, no rank. LV1 0% per 100%. CP usage 95 CP per 10 minutes. A technique that refers to the flowing of chakra through an object as well as any technique that increases the potency of a weapon by flowing chakra through it. Through bladed weapons, it increases the cutting power and length of the blade itself. With blunt objects, it allows it to destroy obstacles with greater ease and increases its durability. Though simple in concept, this technique is a stepping stone for something greater. When mastered, it will allow one to have a good grasp on how to flow elemental chakra into a weapon, something much more difficult to accomplish. Asterisk enhances cutting and severing power of bladed weapons by 20%. Asterisk increases the length of bladed weapons by 5 cm. Asterisk enhances concussive and crushing power of blunt weapons by 20%. Asterisk reduces the loss of durability of blunt weapons by 5%. As soon as he was done learning his new skills, Naruto set out to test them. First off was the Daitapa, which at the moment didn't allow him to bring down a tree as he had hoped. Though it did send a bunch of leaves and birds quite a distance, even though 'twas not his intent. The chakra flow on his Uchigatana was good, not great at the moment, but at least it allowed for a better cut. Plus its bonuses stack on with my other skills and technique. This meant his techniques would be even more powerful when combined with this. Eep! He heard Hinata's surprised voice. The girl was near a river and around her he spotted a trail of water. Naruto guessed she was surprised by her own technique and lost focus. Bwahahaha, Enko's voice boomed across the training field. The laughing was soon joined by Hadamara's own, and Naruto immediately spotted the reason why. The sight immediately made him crack a smile that looked ready to turn into full-blown laughter. One word from you, Whiskers, and you're dead. Ino threatened him with a glare. The fact that she was being laughed at by a dog too wasn't all that comforting. Normally Naruto would have taken her threat to heart. Maybe too bad that the potency behind the threat was diminished by her current appearance. Light sparks danced around Ino's body and Naruto saw a few burnt and singed leaves as well. What was most noticeable about her though was the way her hair stood on end in every which direction. Try as he might, and try he did, Naruto could no longer hold it in. Worth it! He shouted before he began to laugh and join his laughing Niken. Ino looked murderous and ready to pounce on her teammate, and Enko would have let her if she didn't have other plans. Alright, that's enough, kiddos, Enko ordered, much to Ino's reluctance. Now, that last mission was a wake-up call. You did good, but it ain't enough. So for the next few months, here she grinned and cracked her knuckles maliciously, and her students paled considerably as a large Midori appeared behind her. Welcome to hell. Wait! Shouldn't we get to know our skills a bit? Ino gawked and mentally cried. I believe in learning on the job. Plus it's more fun for me this way, she cackled before she made her move on her frightened and scampering genin. For the remainder of the day, many who trained in the fields would shudder or move as far away from training area 9 as fast as they could. But it did little to help their concentration when all they kept hearing was the cackling of a mad woman, the hissing of a large creature, and 3 screaming children and a dog. No one dared to look into it, especially when that mad woman was Anko. Chapter 20. Do the Wave. 2 months later. 1, 2, 3, 4. Naruto shouted the last one and swung with all his might. The Konoha Jinchuriki watched as the zombie's head flew off its shoulders before it impacted with the wall. Hey, watch it! Ino shouted before she ended the existence of another zombie with her foot. I said 4. Naruto told her before he used Katan, Enso Kenjin no Jutsu, fire release, circle flame formation technique, on the horde that surrounded him. Within moments the zombies were either reduced to ash or soon to be. Further away the boy heard an explosion and knew some of his Fuinjutsu traps had been activated. Bark! Hadamaru's primal cry was heard and Naruto watched as the large Niken barreled into a foursome of zombies. His flaming and powerful maw was crushing one's skull while he pinned and raked at the 2 downed ones. The 4th one that tried to land a sneak attack on him was bifurcated by his sudden spin and swipe of his claws. Suetun, Susui no Jutsu, water release, water hammer technique. Naruto watched as Hinata's arms became enveloped by a coat of water from the nearby barrels. The Hyuga effortlessly blocked the strikes of the zombies and countered with her own precise ones. Against the zombies, targeting the chakra points was essentially useless as they had no chakra. However, targeting some of the organs and bones was different. While running on basic instincts, the brain of a zombie still sent electrical signals to the body in sporadic spurts in order for them to move. The bones were essentially what enabled them the stability and ability to move. Destroy the bone and, though still alive in a sense, the zombie would no longer be able to move said limb or body. As Hinata ended the last zombie near her, the dungeon shook and everyone knew exactly what it meant. Boss time! Naruto announced. All 4 of them proceeded to make their way towards the center of the dungeon and watched as the mass of undead converged on one another before they formed the Legion zombie. You 2 want to handle this or, never mind. Naruto deadpanned as he watched Ino make her move. It was a stark contrast to when she first encountered the Legion zombie. Naruto still winced whenever he thought of the ear-splitting scream. Hinata, you mind keeping her out of trouble? Hi, Naruto-kun. She blushed before her face morphed into one of concentration and made to join her fellow kunoichi. Hey, ugly! Ino shouted to get the Legion zombie's attention. The plan worked and a large emphasis on slightly, more intelligent undead gazed at Ino. The large mass of zombies moved to grab her but could only look on confused as its prey disappeared from its gaze. As it searched for the blonde, the dungeon boss completely missed Hinata's form. Pulling out a scroll, Hinata nicked her thumb and drew blood on the ceiling matrix. The action causing his seal to glow before it unleashed a large amount of water in the vicinity. Suetun, Suryuban, water release, water dragon whip. From the water an orb formed and soon launched a series of whips at the Legion zombie. Several of the whips of water had miniature dragon heads attached to the ends of them while others had spear heads. The spear heads pierced into the boss's rotten and decaying flesh, eliciting a roar from the zombie. The dragon heads coiled around the creature's leg once, and then twice before they bit into the appendage. Raitun, Jibashi, lightning release, electromagnetic murder. Ino shouted and shot a surge of electric power into the water. Having mastered the technique through continuous use and practice in dungeons and training with Anko using it had become second nature for Ino. Currents of electrical energy coursed through the water and technique and lit up the large behemoth. The dungeon boss roared in defiance and broke free from the water technique, but the damage was done. With the area still flooded with water, and the Legion's feet still in them, Ino amplified her technique's power even more. However, the zombie ignored the pain and damage that it was receiving and continued to make its way towards her. Bark! The sudden noise cut the zombie off guard and it had no time to react as a flaming drill tore through its shoulder and severed the limb from its place. The action caused by the beast dealt a massive amount of damage and causing the appendage to fall onto a building, the severed limb crushing it in the process, while the Legion zombie clutched at the stump of a shoulder. Saijiki, crushing strike. Naruto swung and struck at the Legion's kneecaps. Upon impact, a loud, painful, and audible crack resonated throughout the area. With its support now gone, the zombie fell to the ground and was only able to keep itself from falling face first with its remaining arm. Even then, the boss wasn't out for the count, and Naruto had to block from the sudden swing it launched at him. With his increased strength, the boy wasn't harmed all that much, but he was still sent a good distance away. Suiton, Mizuhari, water release, water needles. From the water, small but sharp spikes formed before they launched themselves at the Legion zombie. Raiton, Fuchimyaka no Justu, lightning release, dissonance pulse technique. As she finished forming the hand seals, Ino outstretched her arms. The palms of her hands were open, and from them came forth a swift circular wave of energy. Renkijutsu, Geki Rekko, cooperation technique, raging light fangs. The two kunoichi announced their combination technique. Soon the water needles became brighter, and moved more quickly as the lighting enhanced them. The two kunoichi looked on as their technique lanced through the air and began piercing at the Legion's head. While both Ino and Hinata lacked the natural knack and raw power Naruto had when it came to ninjutsu, both of them had two things he didn't with them: compatibility and control. When Enko first began to explain the concept of combination techniques, two important factors came to mind. A person's chakra needed to mesh properly with another's in order to work. In other words, be just as strong or close enough to one another. The other was the overall power and control put into a technique. Too much and the weaker technique would be overpowered by the other and fail in the process. The control was important as it helped shape the technique and allowed it to stabilize as well. Both parties needed to participate equally. With Naruto it was too difficult, as while his control was pretty good, his chakra was too strong and large compared to Ino's and Hinata's. Naruto's techniques also centered too much on raw power than finesse compared to the two kunoichi. Meaning combination ninjutsu with them was not possible at the moment, and Naruto would have to stick with using shadow clones. However, while the combination technique created was a B-rank one, the two kunoichi had yet to fully master the technique and began to feel the strain on their reserves. The two having only just come up with the technique a couple of weeks ago, and through a large amount of practice they had gotten it down to a decent level. But both knew it would be a couple more weeks of continuous training in the dungeons and practice before the strain no longer bothered them. But even with it not being perfected, the technique did what it was set out to do. With its head being the most vulnerable area, each power needle that struck it caused a critical hit. With the amount of needles hitting it, along with the large amount of damage it had already been given, the Legion zombie soon met its end at their hands. Hinata's level has gone up by 1. Ino and Hinata's Renkijutsu, Geki Rekko, has leveled up by L. Status window name, Hyuga Hinata job, ninja rank, Genin, 10% EXP, loot increase, level, 21 next level, 659.05/25, 200 reputation level, exalted, 1360/12,000, specialization, combat medical ninja HP, 1175 CP, 1275 STR, 31 VIT, 47 DX, 91 INT, 51 WIS, 133 LUK, 22 DF, 70 perks, Byakugan, plus 3 DX per LV, plus 20% EXP and effectiveness towards medical ninjutsu, detection, sensing, and taijutsu skills, capable of seeing virtually through everything, body pressure points and at far distances, main family lineage, plus 3 WIS and plus 1 DX per LV, plus 10% effectiveness to all Hyuga clan skills, plus 10% reputation gain with Konoha and Konoha allies, plus 10% EXP and effectiveness towards bartering skill with Konoha and allies, plus 10% EXP and effectiveness towards taijutsu and chakra control skill, risk of capture from Kumo shinobi titles, apprentice Juken practitioner, plus 2 WIS, plus 1 DX, plus 1 INT, plus 15% EXP and effectiveness towards taijutsu skill, plus 15% EXP and effectiveness towards chakra control skill, apprentice combat medical practitioner, plus 3 WIS and plus 1 VIT per level, plus 15% EXP and effectiveness towards medical ninjutsu and herbalism skills, plus 15% effectiveness towards evasion and blocking, minus 15% CP cost towards medical ninjutsu veteran zombie slayer, plus 60% increase attack and defense against undead. Plus 20 towards stats when facing undead, plus 25% additional drops and EXP from undead status effect, minor diffidence, minus 10% to all stats, minus 10% EXP earned from monsters, minus 10% EXP and effectiveness towards skills, self-confidence issues, can potentially become irreversible if progressed too far. Description: Hinata is a very kind but very shy young girl who comes from one of Konoha's 4 noble clans. Despite being trained in the art of the gentle fist at a young age, a renowned and deadly taijutsu, Hinata's skill is lacking for reasons currently unknown. While not one of the best students in the academy, Hinata is still one of the more intelligent students. While most of the girls in her class are infatuated with Sasuke, Hinata is attracted to someone else. During her time in Team 8, her skills and confidence have slowly but surely improved. Her love for cinnamon rolls is said to rival Uzumaki Naruto's love for ramen. Stats: for money, 678,456 Ryo, $67,845.60. As Naruto entered the scene, the blonde watched as the Legion zombie turned into particles of light, signaling its defeat. The blonde ninja was about to go for the loot before the boy felt a tremor, and sweat dropped as he saw Midori wreak havoc in the distance. You mind getting that stuff? I need to stop Anko-sensei before she ruins this place. No offense, Naruto, but how much more ruined can this place get? It's not exactly the capital, you know. Ino emphasized as she gazed upon the burning or ruined buildings all around her. Arf. Hadamaru agreed with her, and though Hinata didn't voice her opinion, she too agreed with Ino. Right, Naruto drawled and had to concede to her point. But you guys know what she's gonna do after this, right? Yeah, Ino waved him off as she went to collect the loot. Just try not to hurt yourself. You know how Anko-sensei hates it when someone interrupts her fun. All 4 shuddered at the last part. Anko's idea of fun was exceptionally unique compared to that of others. As he approached the area where Anko was, Naruto shivered as he heard his Jonin instructor. Die, zombies! Die! Anko laughed as she unleashed fire technique after fire technique on the horde of undead. Right behind her was the enormous form of Midori. The green and deadly serpent hissed and used her long body to crush them. Other times she used it as a whip to send them flying, ending the pitiful existence of the undead when they came back down. Oh well, I had a good life, he thought. It amazed him that even after all this time with her, the woman still frightened him. Then again, the woman had a sadistic streak that was unmatched in Konoha, as far as he knew. Plus, having a giant and powerful serpent at her beck and call helped. Hey, Whoa! He ducked under a hailstorm of metal objects. Gaki, you should know better! Naruto honestly didn't know if Anko knew he was there beforehand or if she was acting on instinct. Part of him was leaning more towards the former given her teaching methods. The Legion zombie's been taken care of, he informed her, and winced slightly as Midori used her tail to wipe out 4 buildings. The action caused debris to fail and crushed the bodies of zombies and nearby wailing cats in the process. Naruto didn't feel sorry for the cats. Already? Though Anko wasn't all that surprised. The group had abused Naruto's dungeon creation ability in order to not only level up but also become more proficient in the skills they had. The only reason why they entered this one despite the low level was because the other instant dungeon creation dungeons were too high a level for them to handle at the moment, and the natural dungeons had yet to reset. They still entered the stronger instant creation dungeons to level up and increase their skills more quickly, but the stronger foes resulted in them having to retreat. On the plus side, it now allowed something very, very useful. Through his constant use of the ability, Naruto was now able to influence the flow of time in the dungeons, to a certain extent of course. As it was, every 4 hours in a dungeon resulted in 1 hour passing by in the real world. The longest they had ever stayed in a dungeon though had been 7 hours though. Anko thought it to be a blessing as it allowed them more time to train, get loot, rest, and complete missions. However, Anko also knew that as a result they aged more quickly biologically. Though 2 months had passed, theoretically speaking it had been 2 months and close to 17 or 19 days for the team. It wasn't much, but if done for a year it meant an extra 105 days or so. Enko didn't doubt that with more use Naruto would be able to lengthen the time as well. Though given it had taken roughly 6 months for this ability to appear, it would be quite a long while before it did. While she would have liked to continue with her thought, Enko was drawn away from them as she spotted the rest of her team enter the scene. Anything good? Enko asked the two kunoichi. Not this time, Ino shook her head, just some cash and a few potions. No orb or scroll though. Ino sounded dejected and Naruto groaned as he heard this. It wasn't uncommon, but with his Master Zombie Slayer title he thought they'd at least get a scroll. Because of the amount of times they entered this dungeon, Ino, Hinata, and Enko had similar titles as well. Ah well, no big loss, Enko shrugged. Through the amount of missions they did and the dungeons they conquered, the team had gathered a decent amount of loot and money. Not getting one here was not that big a deal. Is the dungeon cleared yet, Gaki? Enko asked. Opening up a screen that showed the dungeon's overall layout, a new feature for leveling up his IDC skill, Naruto gave it a look over. No, there's still Boom. Never mind, he deadpanned as the remaining dungeon foes were taken care of by his trap seal, exploding earth immolation skill. That's all of them, he said. Oh, good. In that case, dance, my puppets. Dance? Enko cackled as she threw a series of kunai and shuriken at her students. Many of the weapons promptly exploded upon impact. If one were to walk in on the scene, they would think the woman's training method to be overboard, cruel, and batshit insane. They would be correct in their assumption. But two things came into play that many wouldn't factor. The first being Enko, like many jonin before her, was simulating an actual combat scenario. In this case, Enko was simulating the effects of what was to come should her team ever face a member of the Iwa's Explosion Corps or someone with the explosion release bloodline limit. Enko had fought against such individuals and managed to survive the encounter by the skin of her teeth, if barely that. Against such individuals one needed to be quick on their feet, gain the element of surprise, and catch them unaware to end it as quickly as possible. And not necessarily in that order. The other thing was that Naruto was using his ability to allow them to dish it out in a dungeon. This was one of the new routines the team had. Once they got rid of all the monsters and collected the drops from them, Enko had them get to work on training. As it was considered a friendly spar/mock situation, Enko didn't have to worry about her team once their HP hit 0, as it would merely knock them out instead. Though they needed to clear the dungeon of all monsters before they could do so, apparently. Gotta love the perks that thing gives. Enko was still slightly envious of the ability, but the woman wasn't about to complain. Especially when she considered the perks and benefits her team got when using it. Sway-tun, Sway-ben no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Whip Technique. Though lacking the sound of a cracking whip, the technique had the same principle and made to wrap itself around Enko. The woman proved too quick for the technique, however, and as she jumped away she watched as it was reduced to no more than regular water. Tenshokyaku, Heaven Ascension Legs. Enko heard and watched as Ino leaped upwards into the air and began launching a series of kicks while spinning repeatedly. The kicks came in very quick, and Enko would admit the blonde kunoichi had gotten much better at using the taijutsu she had learned. She still had quite some time before she got it down to a decent level, however. Had this been used against another weaker foe such as a genin, maybe even a chunin, it would have caught them off guard. With Enko, the woman merely batted or blocked the kicks with ease before she grabbed one leg. Ino, however, countered by launching another kick, but it too was caught. The moment they hit the ground did a grin make itself known on Enko's face, making Ino sweat nervously as a result. The trapped kunoichi couldn't do anything before her teacher spun and then released her into the air. The Yamanaka releasing a series of curses that made Enko proud and would have made a sailor blush. She'll be fine. I hope, she added the last part when she heard a crash. Ino, much like the rest of the team, had improved by a large amount, but she still had much to learn. Had she actually been a member of the famous IWA Corps, Ino would have been greatly injured. Against one with the Bakutan, taijutsu was one of the worst possible things to do. It was only used as a very last resort, or if they were extremely fast and powerful to endure the powerful concussive and fiery blows. Ino had certainly improved, but nowhere to that extent. Enko didn't doubt she could get there if she put in the effort and time, but not now though. Ryo Kuboku, Power Strike! A shout from above was all the warning Anko needed before she bailed out of the area. No sooner had she left did the earth buckle and crack under the force of the blow delivered to it. Why did I let him buy that thing? Anko winced a bit as she looked at the scene. Had that struck her, Anko knew she would have been in for a world of hurt. Anko thanked her lucky stars that while the gamer ability he had simulated pain, it also allowed her to heal more quickly with the use of certain skills and items. Though some still remained as the exception. Naruto Smash! Anko deadpanned at the childish battle cry, and if he didn't have the weapon she would have slapped him upside the head. Instead she opted to dodge once more out of the weapon's reach. To compensate for the loss of his bow staff, Naruto had gone to Tetsu and ordered another blunt weapon. In this case, a bloody fucking kanabo, iron mace. A long, studded or spiked, studded in this case, weapon that was made for crushing and smashing things with ease. This one was a little over 4 feet in length, but with Naruto's better diet and increasing strength, both physically and skill-wise, he had no problem wielding it. The blonde was the living embodiment of the old saying Oni ni kanabo, Oni with an iron mace. Which basically meant it was like giving an already strong individual a tool and making them even stronger. And strong as hell he is, Anko thought. Physically speaking, Naruto's strength was greater than hers, especially with the Gariki, hard strength. Because of the amount of times he used the skill, it had not only reduced the amount of chakra needed but also the length of it. The STR boost it gave remained the same unfortunately, but the fact he could use it longer, and with less chakra, was still pretty damn good. Naruto's Gariki, hard strength, skill has leveled up by 1. Congratulations, you have mastered the Gariki, hard strength, skill. As a result, the skill has been upgraded to Ninpo, Kongariki, ninja art, adamantine strength. Ninpo, Kongariki, ninja art, adamantine strength, A rank. LV, 1 next LV, 0/75. CP usage, 350 per 10 minutes. An enhanced version of the Gariki, this skill greatly strengthens the user's muscles to event greater heights than before, allowing them to hit harder, lift heavier objects, jump even further, throw objects even further, and with deadlier force. As an added bonus, it also offers a defense boost as well. Asterisk increases STR by 90 for 10 minutes. Asterisk increases defense by 30. Asterisk increases taijutsu and bukijutsu power by 30%. Asterisk increases blocking and grappling effectiveness by 30%. Oh, no, Anko paled. Fuck yeah! Naruto cheered as his technique finally upgraded. It had taken a long time, but it finally happened. Eyeing Anko, who didn't like the look in his eye, Naruto shouted out his newest technique. Ninpo, Kongariki, ninja art, adamantine strength. Naruto's eyes opened widely as a surge of energy flowed through him like no other. The surge was similar to the Gariki, but much more powerful and pleasant. Raising his weapon, Naruto just as quickly brought it down with the might of a thunderbolt. Saigasho, crushing Fang impact. Anko's eyes bulged as the earth buckled under the blow of the attack. The moment it hit home, did a fissure that was longer than 5 meters become visible on the ground. Beforehand, Naruto had only been able to make one less than 7 feet, and now before her was one of much greater length. Oh shit on a stick, Anko chuckled nervously as her senior student eyed her. No doubt wanting to dish out some payback for the last couple of months. As she thought about, Anko couldn't help but think back on that time. A little over 2.5 months had gone by ever since Anko had gotten her first Genin team. 2 months since her team's very first E-rank mission, borderline B-rank because of the creature that had popped out at the end. It had been 2 whole months of pain, sweat, and tears. Though, if they were honest, it had been mostly tears. Anko had loved making them cry. During that time, the Genin and Niken of Team 8 learned firsthand just how sadistic and brutal Anko and Midori could be when it came to training. The members of the team thought the woman had been sadistic before during their first 2 weeks, and rightfully so. One day into the new training/torture regime did they realize that the old one had been a walk in the park compared to the new one. They had actually missed the previous method. Anko had trained them harder, longer, and with even more unorthodox methods that they thought was possible to come from a human being. But all four knew that Anko never did anything half-assed or used a more conventional means compared to others. They'd be surprised if she did. As a result of the new training, their schedule ended up being changed in the process. All four would wake up earlier in the morning, much to their displeasure, and train till they dropped. Anko would then have Hinata heal them or use ointments that helped them recover more quickly. Once Ino learned it as well, she would do the same. Naruto had learned that medical ninjutsu allowed one to not only heal but also lower a person's fatigue levels as well little by little. Though tempted to learn such a useful skill, Naruto's chakra levels were too damn high for it to be possible. The ratio of a person's WIS to INT more or less needed to have been greater or damn near equal in amount in order to learn and use medical ninjutsu or genjutsu. Though ashamed at not being able to learn such a useful skill himself, the act had given Hinata, and later on Ino, a great deal of practice in using medical ninjutsu. Though both were good at the skill, it was clear to everyone that Hinata was the more talented one when it came to medicines. Part of it having to do because of her greater chakra control and the perks she had. Naruto knew that he wouldn't be good at everything he did as much as wanted to. Everyone had their own strengths. For him, his greatest forte was his stamina and ninjutsu, though he had a knack for kenjutsu and taijutsu too. He could fight longer, and use some of the more destructive skills no one in his team besides Hadamaru and Anko. The Ninken's strengths were in his physical capabilities, his ability to take a hit, and his bite. The latter one now hurting a lot more than it used to ever since he unlocked his ability to use katan techniques. For Ino, her strengths were similar to Anko's, which was her natural grace, her knowledge of plant life and poisons, her seduction and TNI skills, all of which had only been enhanced when Anko began to give her a more in-depth approach. For Hinata, it was her chakra control, medical expertise, her attention to detail, and improving taijutsu. The shy wallflower of the team had demonstrated quite a knack for understanding concepts that Naruto didn't. As a result of the dungeon use, the training method, and the missions they completed, they improved much of their skills and had leveled up by quite a decent amount in the last couple of months. While Anko originally thought 5 to 6 levels wasn't that much, she had to remember that if a chakra mutation's level was too low, her team's level was too high, and they fought as a group, then little to no EXP was given as a result. There was also the fact that as they leveled up, the amount of EXP needed to level up increased in tandem. An upside, however, was because they reached level 20, they were now allowed to specialize. This in essence gave them access to special titles that would increase in potency as they grew stronger. Though they were only able to specialize in something they were good at. Naruto, she wasn't surprised to see, had chosen the ninjutsu specialist. Good as he was with the sword and taijutsu, the boy was much better at ninjutsu. Hinata, upon reaching the level, had chosen the combat medic specialist, which as a result changed one of the titles she had in the process. Ino had taken the TNI specialist title, but she could only have 3 titles until she reached level 25 like Naruto. This meant Ino would have to switch in one title with another. Futon, Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough. Naruto summoned a bellow of wind that flung debris and ripped stone off the buildings that surrounded them. Anko, however, had seen the move coming and ducked into the alleyways to evade the attack. Geki Kyokujutsu, Violent Sunrise. Anko ducked under the kick that threatened to take her head off and retaliated with a slash of her kunai. As expected, the Naruto before her turned into a puff of smoke. Anko knew it wasn't going to be the last of them either. This is gonna be a long training day. As much as Anko liked abusing Naruto's gamer ability, she hated when he abused his ability to use shadow clones during their training sessions. The fact he had gotten better at using them strategically, though good in the long run, only added fuel to the fire. Sometime later, after their morning session was over with, doing a combination of potion intake and having a decent 1-hour break to reduce fatigue and recover their CP and HP, Team 8 made their way over to the Hokage Tower for their pick of the day. Team 8 reporting for duty, Yumino, Hokage-sama. Anko grinned at the scarred Chunin and her village leader before her. Anko, Hiruzen smiled at the energetic woman. Training hard, I see, he chuckled as he eyed the woman's team. You know it. Now it's mission time. What you got for us? She asked, but didn't like the look on Hiruzen's apologetic face. Sadly, I regret to say that no C-rank missions are available at the moment, Anko, Hiruzen informed the now downtrodden group. As it was, Team 8 had already accomplished 6 C-rank missions. Though only one of them had been outside Konoha's walls, they had been C-rank ones nonetheless and had been accomplished rather well, too. The other teams, including those led by Kakashi and Asuma respectively, had yet to accomplish even one. Though if everything went well, then Kakashi's team would accomplish their first one within a couple of weeks or so. As the third god of ninja was about to ask them for their pick of the D-rank missions, the man heard a frantic knock on his door. Sensing it was Mariko, the man allowed her entry and watched as she burst in with a look of worry. "Hokage-sama, we've received a missive from Hataki-san requesting backup." "What?" A stunned Hiruzen all but demanded and took the scroll from his secretary's hands. The man quickly read through its contents and scowled at what he processed. "Thank you, Mariko-chan, you're dismissed," he informed his secretary. "Something wrong, Gigi?" Naruto asked his surrogate grandfather while Mariko vacated the room. "I'm afraid so, Naruto-kun. Close to 5 days ago I allowed Team 7 to take their first C-rank mission. I didn't think much of it as it was nothing more than a simply escort mission from here to Nami no Kuni. At most I thought they'd encounter a few bandits, and it would allow them to be whipped into shape. Kakashi has had slow success in getting them to work together despite passing his test. The two of us thought that a potential encounter would get them to start acting like a proper team," the man told the group. "I'm going on a limb here and guess it didn't end the way it was hoped," Anko interjected. "That would be putting it lightly, I'm afraid." Not 3 days into it do they encounter the Demon Brothers. Hiruzen informed them and Iruka developed a look of worry. Kakashi he knew could handle himself, but the genin were fresh out of the academy, and this was their first combat experience with another hostile group. Bandits were one thing, as the common bandit knew little to nothing on how to use chakra. Rogue nin were a different matter. Demon Brothers. "Hey, aren't those 2 missing ninja from Kiri or something?" Naruto asked. Having kept the bingo book Tetsu had gifted him, Naruto had given it a look over. The prospect of making large amounts of money through other means had crossed his mind. "Kirigikyu, yes," the man confirmed. "Apparently they were hired by President Gato." "Gato? As in the billionaire shipping magnate of the Gato Company? That Gato?" Hiruzen's nod confirmed Anko's query. "What's a rich guy like him got to do with this?" "Apparently Gato's more that he would appear," Hiruzen elaborated by reiterating the details that Kakashi had managed to get out of Tazuna. By the end of the brief, either one of them had been pleased by the turn of events. The fact that Gato was responsible for bringing a small country to near ruin, Tazuna lying and putting a team of Konoha shinobi's lives at risk, and the fact that Kakashi and his team continued on despite the potential danger they'd face. Though for the last part it was more complicated, as Tazuna basically blackmailed them with his sob story. The last thing Konoha needed was a bad reputation of jumping ship when things got a little rocky. Especially when they were nearing the Chunin exams in a few months. "Hokage-sama, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm afraid we have few to spare at the moment." Iruka flinched lightly under his leader's gaze. "How?" he asked the man. "Well, Hokage-sama, as you know, with the Chunin exams nearing, many of our forces are making sure our borders are being well guarded. Then there's the other ninja already on duty and performing missions of their own. Squads in the field patrolling Hai no Kuni. And then there's shinobi that are helping with the preparations for the exams, and of course meeting with the merchants and potential clients wanting to do business. Then you have those sent off on diplomatic missions and liaising with the other countries to make sure nothing goes wrong and to sort out the finer details. We're stretched thin as it is," Iruka explained. While Konoha had a large force of ninja of various ranks, 20% of them were genin rank, 30 to 40% were chunin to jonin rank, 15% were Anbu rank, and the rest were non-combative such as medics, cryptologists, and retired ninja. As it was only the genin percent, not including their instructors, were available. However, most weren't ready or out on the field. As he listed off the reasons why, Hiruzen could only shake his head. What Iruka said made a lot of sense. The Chunin exams were a very hectic period. Problems and other such duties needed to be handled delicately before they even began. It wasn't the first time that others used this opportunity for their own benefit. either through subterfuge of the exams themselves to give their own team an edge or by taking advantage of having their border guard lightly weakened while the exams took place. Loath as he wanted to do it, and loathed he did, Hiruzen knew he had no choice. Teammate, as of right now you are to undertake an emergency B-rank mission with the chance of it potentially becoming an A-rank mission. You are to assist Team 7 as much as possible and find out as much as you can about Gato. Preferably, I want him brought back alive for questioning. Anko and Irika didn't miss the hidden message. Bringing him back alive was the most desired outcome, but should he die it wouldn't be that big a deal. You're to leave as soon as possible. Quest alert. A or B, but definitely not C. Main Quest 1. Assist Team 7 in protecting Tazuna. Main Quest 2. Gather as much information and evidence on Gato. Side Quest. Assist the inhabitants of Nami no Kuni. Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Potential Rewards. Main Quest 1. 20,500 EXP, 300,000 RYO, plus 6 attribute points. Reputation with Nami becomes exalted. Main Quest 2. 20,500 EXP, 300,000 RYO, plus 6 attribute points. Side Quest. 3,000 EXP? Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Hidden Objective? Failure. 3,300 EXP. Reputation level with Nami becomes forever abhorred. Potential death of group members or worse. Potential chance of permanent crippling injury status effect. Potential loss of genin rank. Quest is mandatory. All 5 members of Team 8 had to refrain themselves as the quest window popped up. While the potential rewards were tantalizing and great, the failure part of it wasn't all that inspiring at the moment. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious. Irika interjected. I am Irika, and believe me, I wouldn't send them if I didn't have any other choice. While Team 8 doesn't have much mission experience out of Konoha, they still have more experience in combat missions than Team 10. Team 9 would be preferable, but they're at least a week away from Konoha at the moment, and we don't have time to wait for their return. Plus, with their experience dealing with chakra mutations and Anko's ability to summon, the chances are more in their favor than the other genin teams we have. Agreed, but we don't have time to debate, Irika, and last I recalled I am the leader of this village, he chastised the now subdued Junin. I know you're worried, I am too, but I have faith in Anko and her team to see this through. Part of being a teacher is knowing when to let go and to trust in your students, Irika. Though the man didn't meet his eyes, he reluctantly nodded to his leader wisdom. Good. Anko, you and your team are to leave as soon as you can. Make sure you pack everything you need. Chances are you and your team won't be back for a couple of weeks or more. Dismissed. Hi, Hokage-sama. The woman saluted her leader before ushering her team out of the room, and then the building. All right, kiddos, you heard the man. Get everything you think you'll need for this mission. This is the real deal here. We leave together and come back together. You have less than an hour to grab your shit, inform your clans, and then head for the North Gate. Go! Instantly the genin left to better prepare for what was to come. Naruto himself, and by proxy so was Hado, were already ready and raring to go thanks to his inventory box having everything that was needed. His team had their own too, but couldn't change their equipment the same way he did for some reason. Store and take them out, yes, but they'd lose access to it when the party disbanded. Luckily it was a simple matter of not uninviting them, so the gamer ability still granted them certain ability. Guess getting a few more supplies wouldn't hurt, he thought before he headed to Tetsu's. It wouldn't hurt to have an added supply of shuriken and kunai. After a quick trip to the weapon and armor store, Naruto changed into his custom-made ninja combat armor set and passed the time by using the gear maintenance skill on his equipment. The boy also made a few medium-grade exploding seals as well on the off chance he'd need them. Hadamaru wore a new set of armor made from the hides from the dinosaur dungeon, the old one having become too small and used up. Appearance-wise it was pretty much the same, but the difference was that this armor changed in size when Hado transformed into his larger self. When 30-odd minutes had passed by, Naruto spotted both Ino and Hinata nearing the gate. Both Kunoichi he noticed wore different garbs than before, and Naruto instantly recognized them as some of the past loot they had gotten from past dungeon conquering. Ino sported the gauntlets known as the Katsu's bite on her arms and wore what was known as the Teoyamino no Kuromo, robe of the sylph/graceful young woman. The robe being a form of combat attire that was essentially reminiscent of a revealing purple kimono. While the attire didn't leave much to the imagination, turning more than a few heads when she wore it, nor did it offer a good deal of protection, it did have one thing going for it. In this case, the robe offered Ino a great boost in speed and evasion, which essentially complemented her fighting style. The fact that the robe was incredibly flexible as well was a bonus, as it didn't impede Ino from using certain taijutsu techniques. In Hinata's case, the girl had something a little more modest. The Hyuga wearing an armor set that had apparently been made by her mother for Hinata herself, and potentially her younger sister. The set comprised of a loose-fitting, lavender and cream hooded jacket with lavender cuffs over mesh armor with navy blue pants and black, low-heeled sandals. For more added protection, Hinata had added a thin custom-made, but very durable, dark leather muniate breastplate. The design similar to those used by Kyuubi practitioners. The breastplate actually being made from the dinosaur hides Naruto had collected in the primordial dungeon. Around her neck he saw was the Aramiko no Nenju, rosary of the wandering Miko. It was a simple-looking necklace that consisted of prayer beads and white magatama. To many it would be seen as worthless and nothing more than cheap jewelry. Though plain in appearance, it offered a good deal of perks such as enhancing the effects of medical ninjutsu, resistance to poisons, and enhancing chakra control. But the most useful perks were the ability to erect ninjutsu barriers and erase her presence. If only for a short period of time before she had to wait to use the abilities again. It had been pure luck that they even found the necklace in one of the more than unsavory shops in the red light district that Anko introduced them to. Anko had chucked up the reason for being there as part of their training. While the reputation of such districts weren't great, it was also a good place to find things. Things such as information and goods one couldn't find elsewhere. Naruto almost sort of felt bad for the person they bought the necklace from. Almost. Though still somewhat expensive to buy, it had practically been a steal, all things considered. Though Naruto guessed it might have been stolen in the first place. While Hinata didn't have a set of weapons like himself and Ino, the girl did have a set of seals underneath her wrist guards known as Reiko Kenka, lightning flash blade creation. Their creation had been Naruto's doing after a ton of trial and error before he finally got them perfect. They were currently the highest level of Fuinjutsu in his arsenal at the moment, and it enabled the girl the ability to summon sealed Saban. With her eyesight, accuracy, and knowledge of the human anatomy, it was used to great effect. Especially when they needed to incapacitate a creature or someone without killing them. "Alright, is everyone ready?" Anko appeared. The woman wore her jounin outfit and vest for added protection but kept her low-cut skirt. As her team nodded, Anko began to give them the rundown as they headed out. "Alright, at civilian pace Nami no Kuni is about 6 to 7 days away. At ninja pace it's about a day and a half to 2 days away. Kakashi's team has close to 5 days head start on us, so we need to hustle. We stop only when we have to for a light break before we continue on. Hinata, how many fatigue potions do you have?" 6, Anko-sensei. "I only have enough ingredients to only make 2, maybe 3 others," Hinata informed her. Due to her medical and herbalism skills reaching a good enough level, Hinata had been able to learn how to make low-grade fatigue potions via a recipe they found. The potions were essentially lesser versions of the military rations pill. While they didn't recover chakra, health, or nourish the body, they did reduce the rate in which fatigue occurred by 30% for a couple of hours. The only downside was that the potion didn't taste all that great, and it didn't reduce fatigue levels. The other was that the ingredients to make it weren't easy to find. Only certain dungeons and places in Konoha had the herbs required to make the potion, and they were usually in low amounts. The upside to it was that unlike the pills, it didn't completely exhaust them to the point of uselessness once the effects ran their course. "We'll use them sparingly, but if push comes to shove we'll have to use them up on the last day. Let's just hope Hitaki's team doesn't get into any trouble before we get there," the woman prayed. Unfortunately, her hopes and prayers would go unanswered. Nearing 2 days later, the journey from Konoha to Nami no Kuni had pushed Anko's team to their limit and beyond. Both she and Naruto needed a good solid 7 to 8 hours before they needed to stop. Ino and Hinata were another story. While both had improved by a considerable amount in the last 2 months, they still had a while to go. Enko had certainly improved their stamina to the point they could last a good 4 to 6 hours in a training session before they ran out of steam. However, a major difference was that during those sessions they had the opportunity to rest momentarily, recover, and pace themselves. If Team 8 was to reach Team 7 within the allotted time Enko mentioned, then it meant they'd have to go faster and occasionally at full tilt from time to time. Truthfully, Enko had planned on teaching them how to get used to it next month when Ino and Hinata's stamina were at a decent enough level for it. Fate, or bad luck it seemed, had decided otherwise. As it was, both Ino and Hinata could only last a good 3 or so hours before they were forced to slow down. As a result of this, both Enko and Naruto, plus a shadow clone when Hato became tired, had been forced to give them piggyback rides until they were well rested enough to continue on their own. Through the use of medical ninjutsu they managed to reduce their fatigue levels at a decent rate, even if it meant chakra loss. While using shadow clones would have been ideal, the act would have caused them to transfer their fatigue over to Naruto when they disappeared. Essentially, it would have been counterproductive. Through his use of Gariki, the ordeal had been made easier for him when he carried one of his teammates than it was for Enko. Luckily, the use of the potions allowed them to last longer when they hit the road once more. When it was late in the evening, the group set up tents in a secured location. When they were set up, Ino and Hinata used medical ninjutsu to help their weary bodies. Afterwards they ate lightly and then rested for the night. The use of a couple hidden shadow clones and minor snake summons as a night watch helped them immensely. Both Ino and Hinata made a point of learning the technique once their reserves were large enough. Enko originally wanted them to take shifts but knew all of them needed a full night's rest if they were to make it to Nami at a decent time the next day. Enko also didn't want Ino and Hinata to rely on Naruto's shadow clone technique for this sort of thing, as they needed the experience. Naruto wouldn't always be there, and they'd have to do this on their own in the future. But the woman found her statement to be made redundant if they made plans to learn the technique. Once it became apparent that they weren't going to be ambushed, the clones had dispelled themselves and left the night watch for the summons. After a decent night's rest, the group sealed up their tent and then journeyed onward towards Nami early in the morning. It was well into the afternoon before they came across a large stretch of open water that separated them from their goal. Luckily, all of them knew how to walk on water but had been forced to submerge themselves a couple of times when they spotted patrol boats. By the time they reached the other side, the group was drenched, and the cold air wasn't helping them. Naruto was just glad he wasn't wearing his crimson cloak of the fire rat. The useful item didn't do well with water. "Wish I knew a clothes drying technique," Naruto muttered behind his face mask. With his gamer ability, Naruto had been able to switch into his spare and dry armor set. The three Kunoichi and Hadamaru weren't so lucky. But this works too, he grinned and missed the dirty looks from Ino, Enko, and Hato. Even Hinata looked a tad annoyed at the comment. As they moved further inland, Team 8 had been forced to a walking pace as their visions slowly became obstructed. "Is it me or is this mist weird?" Enko had to agree with her student's intuition. Enko had come across a number of mists before, but this one seemed unnaturally thick in her mind. Hinata, the woman, didn't have to ask the Hyuga twice, and the young girl's eyes changed into her clan's dojutsu. "This mist is filled with chakra." Hinata winced lightly at how bright the light of the chakra reflected in her eyes. "Fuck, the Kirigakure no Jutsu, hidden in the mist technique." Enko scowled and began to worry. Her team tensed and instantly became more alert. Though Enko couldn't simulate the effects of fighting against Kirin Ninja like she did with the explosion core of IWA, the woman had given them the gist of what to expect. Though the Kirigakure was simple, it was a technique that was often used to deadly effect from Kirin Ninja, especially when used by those trained in the silent killing fighting style. "Stay sharp and suppress your chakra as much as possible. There's no telling who we may encounter." The woman spoke in a hushed tone, and her team didn't need to be told twice. With Ino and Hinata the act was easy, especially given Hinata's necklace. Even Hadamaru knew instinctively how to erase or minimize his chakra and presence. For Naruto, not as much given the large amount the blonde had. Even when suppressed, the boy still gave off a decent amount of chakra. Though in this case the chakra he gave off was more like a flashlight in the dark than a roaring bonfire. Anko just hoped luck was on their side and whoever was using this was distracted enough. As they moved further into the mist, they noticed it had become even thicker. However, through the use of her Byakugan, with some strain from the stinging her eyes felt, Hinata managed to locate an area where it was less prominent. As luck would have it, the area not only offered more visibility, but also better coverage with the trees. The large oaks, assuming that's what they were, offered them a better vantage point to survey the area. But it begged the question. Where's it coming from? Ino wondered. The answer to her question made itself known as the group heard the sound of steel clashing against steel. The sound was close, and within half a minute was Team 8 able to pinpoint the location. There was just one major problem, and it presented itself when the mist cleared. Oh, fan-fucking-tastic, Anko cursed as she spotted a trapped Kakashi and the one beside him. Naruto himself chanced to look at the man with his observe and didn't like what he and his team saw. Status window name, Momochi Zabuza. Elite Shinobi job, Nukenin bounty, 50 million real level? Reputation? Specialization? HP? CP? STR? Vit? Dex? Int? Wiz? Luck? Dev? Perks, colon? Titles, colon? Description: Momochi Zabuza, aka the Demon of the Bloody Mist, is an infamous A-rank Nukenin of Kirigakure no Sato with a bloody history and reputation. At the tender age of 9, Zabuza slaughtered well over 100 academy students for reason yet unknown. From then on he would go to prove his worth as a Kiri shinobi by becoming the wielder of the Kubikuri Bocho, decapitating carving knife, and as a result become one of the elite 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Zabuza is notorious for his mastery over his sword and the use of the Kirigakure no Jutsu, and the silent killing technique. Few have ever seen Zabuza in battle, as they usually end up dead before they know it. After a failed coup d'etat against the 4th Mizukage, Zabuza and several others fled from Kiri and has been on the run since. His presence is claimed to be seen by others in various countries, ranging from Kaze no Kuni to Kaminari no Kuni. However, because of his reputation of never leaving others alive, such sightings are rare and the validity of such claims are sparse at best. Attribute points: 3 money, 0. As if the description ain't bad enough, this guy's a fucking elite. Naruto was worried for good reason. Elites were a special kind of ninja or foe that were much more powerful than those with the same level. In video games, whereas a normal creature of a certain breed might fall easily to a lone player, to defeat an elite creature of the same type required careful planning, a group of heroes, excellent tactics, or all three. All of now they had been lucky for not running into one. This wasn't going to be easy. A head-on fight wasn't the answer. Naruto knew all of them, but Anko would be toast if they attempted such a stunt without the element of surprise. They'd have to do this strategically. To make matters even worse, a series of clones were created and looked ready to reach at the team. So what do we do? Naruto asked Anko. That's simple, improvise and think on the spot. Anko informed them as she made her move. Her genin were stunned but not surprised by the act. It was very Anko-like, and they didn't really have time to come up with a plan while Team 7 was moments away from being killed. Well, you heard her. Naruto informed his team, and along with Hatomaru he followed after his teacher. Oh, we're all gonna die, Ino slumped before she and Hinata followed in pursuit. At least they'd go out fighting. As the water clones rushed at the genin, Zabuza blinked as his creations were soon reduced to mere useless puddles of water. The hell? The man exclaimed and was forced to block a pair of kunai coming from a woman. Zabuza made to swipe at her, but the woman leaped over the blade and managed to land a kick on his chest. It wasn't enough to send the man flying, but it had enough force in it to release his hold on his suiro, water prison. Shit, the man growled and held his sword in a more aggressive manner. Anko knew she'd have to be extra careful now. Even with Kakashi freed, a single slip-up would end her. I thought I felt some rats skulking about. The man had originally thought it to be his imagination, and now he was regretting it. The missing ninja watched as the woman covered Kakashi as he got out of the water. Zabuza needed to end at least one of them quickly, and rushed at the woman. However, Zabuza was stunned as a myriad of serpents were unleashed from her sleeves and bared their fangs at him. Creating some more clones, Zabuza substituted himself with one of them and watched as the serpent bit at their necks and thighs. The original Zabuza swung his blade and ended the serpent's lives in the process. Using his momentum, the swordsman struck Anko with the flat end of the blade and launched her at high speeds. With Kakashi behind her, the man was sent along for the ride back to shore. Zabuza made to move towards the old man but was stunned as two more genin appeared beside the other three. From their appearance, Zabuza guessed one of them was a Hyuga if the eyes were to go by. The other he couldn't tell but knew it was a Kunoichi. However, it was then that Zabuza's problems began. Just as they joined them did a twofold barrier erect themselves around the group of genin, Niken, and the old man. The first was a dome of lapis-colored energy while the other was a circular wall of red-hot flames. Barrier ninjutsu. The man was snarling at the moment. He doubted the barriers were strong enough to stop him, but had an inkling it was meant to buy themselves time. Barrier ninjutsu were only as strong as the user, and these were mere genin. The flames surrounding them could easily be doused as well. His arsenal of Suiton techniques would make sure of it. Kajakoku, Shadow Strike. Naruto announced as he swiftly brought down his Uchigatana on the man's exposed back. However, his victory was short-lived when the boy's target turned out to be a mere water doppelganger. Naruto had no time to do anything before the real Zabuza rose up from behind and grabbed hold. "Not bad, kid, you got balls. But you're 100 years too early to be messing with one of the 7 swordsmen." The man released a chuckle and then placed his weapon at the boy's throat. The man had sensed Naruto from a mile away and had decided to use a different strategy when reinforcements showed up. With the young swordsman subdued, Zabuza looked at the 2 jonin in front of him, more so the woman in this case. "Arms where I can see 'em, snake bitch," Zabuza ordered Anko. The woman, scowling at the name but obliged to the demand, "Gotta say, I didn't expect to see the snake mistress of Konoha. To think you of all people would take a bunch of brats as pupils. Funny how stuff like that turns out," he chuckled. "Yeah, real freakin' hilarious," Anko deadpanned. "But playtime's over. As much as I'd like to continue fighting, I got important business to take care of. So tell your kiddies to drop the barrier, hand over the old man, and the kid goes free. Try anything funny and you'll see firsthand why decapitating is a part of Kubikuribocho's name." The man proved his point by bringing the blade closer to Naruto's neck. Though frightened, Tazuna looked ready to step in. The man knew these were ninja, but the thought of a child dying for him didn't sit right with him. However, Tazuna was stopped in his tracks by Anko before he could surrender himself. "Sorry, but I can't do that." The gaki knew what he was getting into when he became a ninja. Though momentarily stunned, as he wasn't expecting something like this from a Konoha shinobi, Zabuza smirked nonetheless. "Too bad to hear it. Sorry, kid, but looks like you're gonna lose your head." "Business is business," he grinned before looking at Anko. "Any last words for the dearly departed?" "Just one, Midori," Anko suddenly shouted at the top of her lungs. Just as soon as the word left her mouth did the captive Naruto disappear into a wisp of smoke. What? A clone? That was the least of his problems as an enormous, hissing, and angry Midori burst forth from the ground below the missing nin. Zabuza barely had time to react as the giant reptile made to swallow him, or rip him to shreds with its razor-sharp and dagger-filled maw. Zabuza swung his giant sword hoping to hit a weak point, but Midori's reflexes allowed her to dodge quickly. Though her snout was nicked in the process, a summoned creature's hide was much stronger than a regular serpent. Though if he used his full might, Midori knew the man could pierce her tough skin with only slight difficulties given the properties of the blade. "Play nice with your new chew toy," Anko laughed as Zabuza snarled behind his bandaged face. Behind Anko, Zabuza watched as the barrier dropped and man scowled as saw the original sword-wielding genin. "Damn shit, must have hidden himself with a henge," was the conclusion he came up with. As the genin flipped him the bird, the man made to move before Midori lunged at him. Zabuza's plans were put on hold and he was forced to dodge from the deadly serpent strikes. Even then the man didn't escape unharmed as he was nicked by one of the creature's fangs. The man realized he had been played like a chump. At the moment there were only 2 options available for him: fight and get killed, or flee and fight another day. With the added protection of another team, plus a large summon, Zabuza knew his chances of completing the mission were very low. For now anyway, while his mastery over the Kirigakyu no Justa would mask his chakra signature, his scent and body heat weren't. Fuck, Zabuza cursed and used the Kyuubi Shunshin, Miss Body Flicker, to escape the area. As he appeared at a location far away, the man scowled and kept on running until he knew he was at a safe distance. The man never liked retreating from a fight, but he knew Mei would kill him if he died. After finding a way to bring him back to life, of course. Strong as he was, the man knew that Mei was a hell of a lot stronger than he was despite not being a swordsman. Zabuza disliked working for guys like Gato, but business was business. If he had to kill someone, then so be it. The resistance of Kyuubi desperately needed the funds for their goal, and Zabuza was a part of it. Being from the generation of swordsmen that many considered to be the strongest generation, the man had arrogantly thought himself capable of leading a small group to overthrow Yagura before the man brought Kyuubi to ruin. Yagura had faced the group by himself and utterly crushed them with ease. The coup's defeat had been an eye-opener, and Zabuza took it as a lesson. Strong and fearsome as he was, the man realized there would always be someone much stronger than him. Zabuza had never faced a Jinchuriki before, but the man knew that having a Biju sealed within oneself granted them a large amount of chakra and power most didn't possess. Even after hearing stories about such battles, the man hadn't thought much of it, believing them to be exaggerations from weaklings and poor excuses of ninja. All that soon changed. After facing off against someone who not only had that kind of power but also had total control over it, made him realize just how immense the power gap between him and Yagura was. Even after so long and various missions he took from others and fighting for the resistance, the man knew his strength still wasn't enough to face Yagura head-on. The only person who had a chance was Mei herself. Even then the man knew she would need some help doing it. Zabuza-sama! The man didn't bother to turn his head, having sensed his ward's presence, a mile away. Zabuza-sama, what do we do now? We lay low for now, Haku, loathed as he wanted to admit it, but at the moment they were outmatched and outgunned. Where's Meizu and Gozu? At the hideout. They're tending to their injuries and making sure that Gato doesn't start snooping around while we're gone, the dragon-masked ninja said. According to the two brothers, Hatake Kakashi had roughened them up enough so when he bound them to a tree they wouldn't have the strength to escape. Had Haku not tailed them to oversee the proceedings, they'd be in the hands of Konoha Umbu. Haku liked Gozu and Meizu, but the ninja sometimes wondered if those two were missing a few brain cells. If they weren't shinobi or had minimum to no encounter with ninja, their stunt would have been somewhat justifiable. But this was Hatake Kakashi of all people. Haku had never met the ninja but had heard rumors and stories of those who survived encounters with him. The man was easily one of the most well-known and recognizable ninja in the elemental countries. Certainly, the demon brothers loved picking a fight, but for them to think they'd have a chance against Sharingan no Kakashi was mind-boggling. It was dumb stunts like that made Haku wonder what exactly did those two actually contribute to all of this. If anything, they were loyal, and worked very well together, but that was pretty much it. It shouldn't take them more than a few days before they are back to full strength, Zabuza-sama. Good. We'll wait till nightfall before heading back. Zabuza wasn't going to risk the hideout's location. The man would have to eliminate his scent before they headed back. Having worked with the Hunter-Nin squad when he was a part of Kyuubi, the man knew of several ways to do so. He was beating himself up for not doing so now, as it might have gone differently. Though as snakes could see via heat signatures, something his technique couldn't hide, and with a Hyuga on their side it was easier said than done. As he began to formulate plans, Zabuza's body began to spasm and he buckled under his own weight. The man fell off the branch of the tree and would have hit the ground with a resounding thud had Haku no caught him. Zabuza-sama, what's wrong? A frantic Haku asked. By now Zabuza's body began to shake and shiver, and his breathing was beginning to become rapid. Working quickly, Haku gave the man a look over before the cause of the problem was found. On the man's arm was a cut. Said wound had a purple and putrid look along with small bubbles of yellowish pus-like liquid. The odor that it was giving off was foul and Haku instantly knew what the cause was. Poison. Haku deduced that it came from the large serpent. The nick Haku had seen was most likely the cause. To think such a small amount would do all this, the ninja knew it had to be very powerful for such a small amount to cause all this. Taking out a set of tools, Haku went to work as quickly and as carefully as possible. Getting a needle, Haku began by injecting the man with some antibodies to slow the poison down. Already the man's shake went down some, but Haku knew they weren't out of the woods yet. The next thing that needed to be done was getting Zabuza's heartbeat down as low as possible. Taking out 2 Saban needles, Haku then accurately placed them on the side of Zabuza's neck. Within seconds Zabuza's body went limp as a fish. Though Haku wished to avoid putting him in a death-like state, it was the only way to help impede the poison. Poisons were known to spread throughout the body at a faster rate the higher one's heart rate was. This method would allow the ninja time to come up with a cure. Though Haku had experience in concocting antidotes for various poisonous creatures, coming up with one for a summon wasn't. This wasn't going to be easy and would take all the skill Haku had to come up with an antidote. While Haku was knowledgeable on a large amount of herbs and knew a bit on medicine, the ninja couldn't be classified as a medic. Did the ninja have the reserves and chakra control required? Yes. The young ninja had the intelligence also to do well in the field. The only thing that was lacking was knowledge and know-how. Though part of the resistance, both Zabuza and the feminine-looking ninja only ever met with messengers that Terumi sent. As such, Haku's medical skills were mostly self-taught. Never once did the ninja have the opportunity to learn medical ninjutsu from someone else. As they were always on the move and doing a job, Haku didn't exactly have a chance to learn some of the more complex techniques. Every time Haku needed to heal either the demon brothers or Zabuza, it was done the old-fashioned way. This event was going to put all those skills to the test. Sometime later, "Father!" a woman, easily in her early 30s, shouted at as the group of 10 neared a house near the riverside. Tazuna eagerly greeted his daughter with a hug before introducing her to his escort. "Tsunami, these are the super ninja that helped me reach Nami. Everyone, this is my daughter, Tsunami," he introduced. Seriously, what's with this guy and the word super? Ino wondered if the man didn't really have an extended vocabulary. "Thank you, all of you," Tsunami bowed, but her look turned into one of confusion as she eyed the group. "There's so many of you. I thought we only had enough for a C-rank mission." "You did, but Hokage-sama sent us as backup," Anko spoke up. "Speaking of which, why were you and your team sent, Anko?" Kakashi asked. He wasn't ungrateful, but the man had hoped for more than a rookie jonin and a team of genin. If anything, having more genin meant even more worry. With the Chunin exams coming up and all Konoha is stretched thin at the moment, Hokage-sama had no choice but to send us, and we weren't exactly in a position to say no, the woman informed him before a sheepish look crossed her face. "Not to be rude, but you mind if we take this someplace a little warmer? My legs are starting to go numb." Ino herself silently agreed with her team leader. As part of her seduction lessons, Ino knew that showing more skin helped enhance one's approach. The only problem was that it also didn't offer much protection against the elements such as cold weather. Plus, with the water dives they had taken earlier, it didn't help. Of course, Tsunami ushered them inside her house, and one by one did they enter her humble abode. "I'm afraid we have limited sleeping arrangements. We have 2 guest rooms that can be shared, though it may end up being a little snug in the process. Some of you will have to sleep on the couch or floor, I'm afraid," she apologized. Had it only been one team, it wouldn't have been bad. Tsunami also wondered what they were going to do for food as well. It's no big deal," Anko waved the woman's worry off. "Ninja are meant to endure this kind of stuff. This is nothing compared to where we usually have to sleep. Just ask Kakashi, he used to be in the Umbu." "Umbu?" Tsunami was unfamiliar with the term. Basically the elite of the elite ninja of a ninja village. They do stuff even reputed and strong ninja just can't handle, and Hitaki here was a captain at one point, the woman elaborated. Oh, it was still weird, but the explanation made sense. "Speaking of which, you've gotten sloppy, Hitaki," Anko noted the tired man's form. "Ma, I'll be fine," the man smiled behind his face mask, but Anko wasn't fooled. Kakashi was more experienced than her, and he kept a straight face, but the paleness in his face along with the beads of sweat told her otherwise. "Hinata, Byakugan on Kakashi," the woman ordered her student. The young kunoichi complied with her teacher's command and was unnerved by what she saw. "Kakashi-sensei, your chakra reserves are nearly empty. You're suffering from mild chakra exhaustion." Her statement caused Anko to curse. Kakashi wasn't Naruto, so this wasn't a simple case of him sleeping it off and getting better after a single night. Chakra exhaustion came in 3 stages: minor, mild, and severe. Minor cases usually took 2 to 3 days to get over. Mild cases were 4 to 6 days of recovering, sometimes extra as it wasn't good for one's health. Severe cases could take over a week or so before they were ready for action. Even then, it took a person a few extra days before they could even move properly. Seriously, I'm fine. The man couldn't finish his sentence as he fell to one knee. Anko instantly appeared beside him and swung his arm over her shoulder. You're dead tired, Hataki? You're lucky we got there when we did. Hinata, you're with me. Old man, where are the spare rooms? Anko barked out at Tazuna. The bridge builder was momentarily stunned by the shout before he directed all three up the stairs. The two teams had to wait for a solid 5 minutes before Anko made her way back down. Is Kakashi-sensei going to be okay? A worried Sakura asked. He'll be fine, Hinata's looking after him. A bit of bed rest, some occasional healing, and taking it easy, and he'll be right as rain in 5 days or so, she reassured the Pinkette. Kinda sad though, really. A few years ago, when he was in the Umbu, I doubt this sort of thing would have even fazed him. Hataki's gotten out of shape ever since he left. Is he really that strong? Sasuke asked, more so out of curiosity. The Uchiha's opinion of the man wasn't all that great considering he barely taught them anything. But the way the man fought against Zabuza made him realize that he was more than he originally assessed. The guy made Chunin at age 6, Jounin at age 12, and then at 13 he was inducted into the Umbu. A few years later he was promoted to Umbu captain, and his repertoire of techniques was only outmatched by the Sandaime Hokage himself. There's only other person I know that has that kind of performance record, if not greater. Who's that? Naruto asked. Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke's older brother, and easily one of the best ninja Konoha had before he stabbed Konoha in the back, Anko said, not noticing the dark look that crossed Sasuke's face as she said it. Stabbed in the back? Naruto wondered what she was getting at before it dawned on him. Oh. Yeah, Anko agreed. Anyway, the point is that it's sad that someone like Kakashi let their skills go to waste. Rumor has it that he's easily a candidate for 5th Hokage. All the genin, including Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba, were stunned. Are we still talking about our sensei? Sakura hesitantly asked. Unless there's another Hataki Kakashi with an implanted Sharingan in his eye socket, then, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anko didn't like where this was going. Seriously, that lazy ass? Mr. I got lost on the road of life? That guy? An incredulous Kiba asked. I call bullshit. Arf. Akamaru agreed with his partner, and while Kiba's teammates were less vocal, both couldn't help but agree with the feral-looking boy. As she gauged their reaction, Anko hesitantly asked, part of me is probably gonna regret asking, but what has he taught you guys? As Hinata's hands glowed a light green color, the Hyuga watched as the paleness from Kakashi's face began to recede little by little. He what? Anko's thunderous voice rocked the house, and Hinata watched in fascination and worry as Kakashi's face began to pale even further. I'll kill him. Well, I'm feeling better, goodbye. Kakashi quickly said, proceeded to jump through the window, and then made a mad dash for the woods. Not out the window, through the window. Pussy! Take your beating like a man! It wasn't a moment later that Hinata spotted her teacher chasing after the man, a string of curses and kunai being thrown at him as she gave chase. The Hyuga watched as trees fell to the ground and a series of lights light up the wood as a result of explosions. As the forest began to turn into a war zone, Hinata slowly drew the curtains and left the room. Chapter 21 Operation Liberation begins. The next morning, when Anko had finally managed to get a hold of Kakashi, the man lasting longer than they thought he would given his state, Anko had let the man have it. What the words were exactly the genin didn't know, but guessed it hadn't been pleasant. The amount of slapping she gave him hadn't been pleasant either. When the man was taken back to bed, despite her wanting to leave his tired ass in the woods, Anko had set up the sleeping arrangements. As this was officially Team 7's mission, they would be the ones sleeping in the house. Team 8 had their own mission coinciding with theirs and would be roughing it outside in sleeping bags and a tent. Ino would have complained as they had a comfortable house available to sleep in, but her time with Anko made her no better. Anko hated when someone began to bitch and moan over something she would consider trivial. So, how'd everyone sleep? A perky Anko asked the two teams. The woman had half expected moans or groans from her team, considering this was only their second time sleeping outdoors. Anko was used to it, and didn't notice the discomfort anymore. Her genin weren't, but guessed the gamer's ability took away such discomfort. So much for making fun. Anko slumped a bit but perked right back up. Was fine, but Ino snores, Naruto informed the group. The blonde took a piece of toast as well as what little rice there was to munch on. I do not. The kunoichi glared at her fellow blonde. We slept in the same tent, Ino, and I know snoring when I hear it, Naruto countered. Arf. Hadamara agreed with his partner. The young Niken had been in the same tent, and had not cared for the blonde's snoring either. I don't snore, the girl stated more forcefully, and you're one to talk. You speak in your sleep. What? You heard me. For an entire hour all I could hear was you mumbling about ramen and your ramen girls. By now Ino was flushed red. Whether it was because of how embarrassing it had been or because she was angry, no one knew. Wait, you two slept in the same tent? Kiba asked. A look of utter disbelief on his face, while his kunoichi teammate was just as shocked. Though he looked indifferent, even Sasuke was mildly surprised by the revelation. Is that normal? Tazuna asked the leader of Team 7. As this was his first time actually dealing with ninja, the man didn't know how they worked exactly. What was odd for him could be common for someone in their line of work. For genin, not so much. But it's not uncommon either. It's basically to get them used to this kind of thing when they get older. Ninjas sometimes have to get physically close to a target at times, and this helps ease them into it, Kakashi explained to the client. Oh, that reminds me. You're sleeping with pale eyes tonight, Gaki, Anko smirked at the blonde. The reactions varied from each individual. Hinata, Sakura, and Tsunami blushed, the Hyugan nearing supernova, while Kiba and Tazuna, and Naruto to a small extent, had a perverted look on their faces. The only ones who looked indifferent were Sasuke and Kakashi, though the latter was more focused on his book than anything. Even then a small smirk was hidden behind the book cover. So what do we do now? Kiba asked. We brought the old man to Nami, that's mission accomplished, right? Wrong, Anko and Kakashi answered simultaneously. Your mission is to stay here and bodyguard Tazuna until the bridge is complete. I'm no expert, but from what I saw it's gonna take a while. Plus Zabuz is still out there, and if the info the bingo book has on him is accurate, then I doubt you'll be seeing the last of him. Tazuna paled considerably as he heard this. The team had barely managed to escape from the man with their lives. Had it not been for Team 7's timely arrival, then Tazuna hated to think what could have happened. It's a good thing we have another team then, huh? Tazuna chuckled. In the end this whole thing worked out better. Wham! The bridge builder had no time to react as he felt the fist impact with his face and send him sprawling across the room. Before he could even right himself, the man was lifted into the air by an angry kunoichi. Let's get one thing straight, old man, you lied to Konoha and as a result you nearly got a team killed in the process. Technically speaking, the contract between Nami and Konoha is null and void because of that stunt. Believe it or not, we actually have the right to haul your ass back and have you imprisoned. Or did you not know that when you signed the paperwork? She snarled at the paling man. A worried Tsunami looked ready to step in and defend her father but was stopped by Kakashi. Even while weakened, the man's look was enough to stop her from interfering. Truthfully, Tazuna hadn't really gone over the contract or the fine print of it all. All the man had cared about was getting a team to Nami and help them as quickly as possible. Though he hadn't expected getting a bunch of kids, the man took what he could get. The sooner they got back and the sooner the bridge was completed, the better. You don't understand, the elderly man began, but a look from Anko told him to wisely keep his mouth shut. No, I understand, old man, Anko snarled and was about to continue, but a hand on her shoulder stopped her. That's enough, Anko. I think he gets it, the man gave her a look. Though still angry, both at Kakashi and Tazuna, Anko unceremoniously dropped the bridge builder. Sighing at the act, but making no move to pick him up, Kakashi gave Tazuna a pointed look. Anko's right though, Tazuna. Despite the fact we decided to continue with this mission, you still lied to us and put my genin in danger. We got lucky that none of them were killed when Zabuza showed up. Chances are it probably would have happened had Team 8 not showed up. Had I even the slightest idea that Zabuza was going to be involved, there's no way I would have continued. A friend of mine once said those who break the rules are trash, but those who betray others are worse than trash. In this case, you'd be considered worse than trash, Tazuna, Kakashi told the elderly man. The members of Team 7 stayed silent as this was occurring. What Kakashi had said was a paraphrased version of the original. But Tazuna didn't need to know that, anyway. I know why you did it, but don't assume this ended up for the better. W. What do you mean? Tazuna asked. We'll start with number 1. This is clearly an A-rank mission and ninja don't work for charity. A C-rank pay barely covers what it's gonna cost you in the end. You're gonna have to come up with what you owe use when it's over. The look she gave him left no room to argue. Though seeing as how Gato's basically taken everything you get, we're willing to work something out, she added, and Tazuna was grateful. Next is that we have 6 genin here and any one of them can be killed or taken hostage before they even realize it. That's Zabuza's speciality, and the bastard can easily use it as leverage against us. The only upside is that Midori managed to poison him. Her poison is nasty as hell. He didn't get a full dose, but chances of him dying are still great. But on the off chance he survives, it'll take him a while to recover. At most we have 6 to 8 days before he's back on his feet. Why didn't the snake finish him off? Could have saved us the trouble, Kiba grumbled before he was bonked on the head. Ow. Because, Mutt, she can't stay in that form for too long, and it takes a lot out of her. There's also the fact that we didn't know who else was out there, so we needed her close by. We heard about the Demon Brothers, and I doubt they're the only ones working for him, Enko explained, and the declaration made Sakura, Tsunami, and Tazuna pale, while Ino and Hinata were worried. Though none of them showed it, all 3 male genin were just as concerned too. Well, we don't have to worry about Goza and Meizu, at least, Kakashi's informed the group. Enko, however, was the only one who knew that it was meant to put them at ease. With the information she told, the veteran ninja suspected that perhaps it wasn't the case. However, Kakashi thought it was best to lie than for them to worry for the time being. In the meantime, we're going to have to train you all so you're prepared. Speak for yourself, Hataki. My team's already been on 6 C-rank missions dealing with chakra mutations, so they have combat experience, she informed the now surprised man and stunned Team 7. They've been on 6 C-rank missions already? Sasuke fumed at the knowledge. His team had only been on this one, and technically he knew it was now a B or A rank mission. It would test his skills, but teammates as well. At this rate, he wasn't going to be anywhere near to achieving his goals. Bullshit. Kiba shouted, no way, you guys have done 6 C-rank missions already. He would have believed 1 or 2, but 6 was too much. What makes you guys more special? Well, the fact we actually accomplished the amount of D-rank missions needed to qualify for a C-rank, Ino began, plus our first C-rank kinda turned into a B-rank one, and Hokage-sama was impressed with how we handled it. Ever since he would give us the odd C-rank mission that required dealing with chakra mutations. Chakra mutations? Tsunami asked as she heard the name once more. Creatures that have been changed in some way or another. Surprisingly, it was Kiba who answered. What? My clans had a history dealing with them since the Warring States, he elaborated. From her relationship with Kiba's mother, Enko knew he spoke truthfully on the matter. That aside, we qualified and did a good job on our first C rank. So we got the green light to do more. How many missions have you guys done? 3 of the members of Team 7 looked abashed, while the other merely frowned and looked away. The other was engrossed in his book. Well? How many? Sakura mumbled. Speak up, billboard brow, Ino told her rival. The pinkette glaring at the blonde before she answered, 15. Are you fucking kidding me? Anko's face shadowed over and her genin knew to take cover. 15 missions is all you guys took in 2.5 months? By now the woman's temper was showing and Sakura looked frightened. Kiba and Akamaru were both hiding behind a chair while Sasuke felt like doing the same thing. Hataki, a word, now. The woman wasn't asking, and she proceeded to drag the man up the stairs and entered a room and closed the door with a resounding slam. You guys are probably not gonna see him again, Naruto informed them. Enko hates slacking. All 4 members of the veteran Kunoichi's team shuddered lightly. Sometime later, okay, this seems like a good a spot as any, Enko halted the group. Surrounding them were many large trees that were needed for what she had planned. The area wasn't too far away from Tazuna's home or the bridge either on the off chance they needed to rush to his aid. As a precaution, the woman had left Hinata, Ino, and Hadamaru with the man. Alright, seeing as how Kakashi's out of commission for the time being, I guess I'll be in charge of you brats. The look she gave them made the members of Team 7 worry. Kiba and Akamaru more so due to their first-hand experience with the eccentric jounin. And seeing as how you weren't taught all that much, we've got no choice but to begin with the basics. To start, I'm gonna be having you 3 climb trees. Climb trees, Sakura deadpanned. How the hell is climbing trees gonna help us, Sha? Yes, climb trees, using only your feet, she finished and proceeded to demonstrate the act by casually walking up a large erect trunk of wood. The woman did this for less than a minute before she finally stopped near the very top. And that's how it's done. You gotta concentrate just the right amount of chakra to the soles of your feet to make yourself stick. Too much and you're blown off, too little and you'll fall on your ass. Use these to mark your progress, the woman concluded by throwing each of them a kunai. Hop to it. I want to see you at least make it 20 feet before the day's over. One by one the genin of Team 7 grabbed a kunai and picked their respected tree. Naruto watched how Kiba, ever eager, proceeded by running towards his target. Naruto had half expected the boy to make it one step before he was pushed off, but was slightly surprised that the Inuzuka managed to make it a good 7 steps before he was forced down. Naruto guessed that since he came from a ninja clan he would be more knowledgeable on such things. Sasuke himself had made a decent 8 steps before he was forced off his own tree. This is easy. A voice from high up called out, and all 3 males looked up to see Sakura at the outmost top branch of the tree. Kiba groaned, as he knew she'd hold this over him, and Sakura merely frowned. Enko, however, merely assessed the situation. Earlier she had Naruto use his observe on the group and had not been impressed. Akamaru was at level 12, Sakura's level was a mere 14, Kiba's was 17 and Sasuke was level 20. Sasuke's level was decent in her mind, but even then it had only been a recent level up. For each of them they had a particular attribute that was higher than the rest. For Kiba it was his DX and to a certain extent his STR as well. Which made sense given his clan's lineage. For Sasuke it was his DX, WIS, and INT. Given the Uchiha clan's history for being placed second in the top 10 strongest clans in the world, and the way he pushed himself, it was no surprise really. For Sakura her most outstanding attribute was her WIS, which was more or less equal to Naruto's at the moment. If she were Sasuke's level, Enko knew her WIS would be much greater than Hinata's by at least 40 points. Plus her titles and perks granted her a great boost in chakra control. Unfortunately, it was all she had going for her at the moment. Don't celebrate just yet, Pinky, Sakura scowled at the nickname but otherwise stayed silent. So you think just because you got up there first means you're better than those 2? She asked. Sakura was not expecting the question and stumbled on her words. Alright then. That tree's more or less 30 to 40 feet high. I want you to run up and down that thing 50 times in both directions, she smirked. Alright, Sakura honestly thought it would have been a lot worse really given how Ino spoke about her the other day. This will be easy, the kunoichi thought and proceeded to do exactly what Enko told her while her teammates got back to work. But about less than 30 minutes later, and only being on her 29th climb up, an exhausted Sakura was now drenched in sweat. The girl wasn't even halfway up the tree and every time she moved her legs she felt them burn and ache in protest. The girl only managed to make it up another 7 feet before she was forced to rest on a nearby branch. Kiba and Sasuke, however, were still going strong as they continued to make progress little by little. So you get it now? A voice behind her startled her from the unexpectedness of it all. Your chakra control is very impressive for someone your age. You'd make a damn good medic or genjutsu mistress, Sakura blushed at the praise. But you suck at everything else, the comment immediately made the blush disappear. Chakra control will only get you so far. What you did was barely half a kilometer. You're not much help to your team if you don't have any stamina, speed or any defining skill to back you up. Truthfully, you're lucky not to be dead at the moment, Sakura. As you're nothing more than dead weight. Enko's chastising was harsh, but truthful. The frown she had forced a near-tear-stricken Sakura to look away. The look she received was almost like those she had sometimes received from her parents. It was a look of pure, unadulterated, utter disappointment. Catch your breath and then get back to work. Every time you fail to accomplish the task, you're to start over from square one. By the end of the week I'd better see it done, was the woman's simple but sharp order. Sakura wanted to protest but could only nod. However, by then Anko was long gone and far away from the girl. Sakura had potential with her chakra control, but at the moment Anko was disgusted. The girl had no right to call herself a kunoichi. Part of it was Kakashi's fault as well, but Sakura could have done her own form of training. Her conversation with the man revealed why he was late, sorta. Ninja needed to be independent and learn how to teach themselves rather than rely solely on a master. Something Kakashi was trying to teach them, but none were getting it. If Sakura didn't show any decent improvement before Anko's team left, the woman would have no choice but to confront the Hokage about this. The most likely scenario would be having her replaced with another ninja from the reserves. Should that happen, Sakura would be temporarily stripped of her genin rank until she shaped up. A girl like her was more of a liability than an asset for her team. At best she'd be killed or crippled. At worst others would kidnap her and use her for their own self-pleasure. It happened to others in the past, both dedicated and lacking kunoichi. It was the same thing she told her two kunoichi if they didn't shape up or take it seriously. Kunoichi had it much worse than male ninja merely because they were born with different genders. This is bullshit, she heard Kiba curse. The hooded genin was covered in dirt, and Anko knew he had fallen. Judging from the marks, he was making progress, but not as good compared to Sasuke. Anko knew young Inuzuka males weren't known for their patience or level-headedness, especially when they viewed others as competition. Hey! How the hell's this gonna help us anyway? Oh, uber dumbass move, Kiba. Though the Inuzuka knew better than to mouth off at Anko, the boy's frustration had unfortunately gotten the best of him. And Naruto had no doubt he was about to pay for it. First off, the woman suddenly appeared before him and slammed the Inuzuka into a tree. The action forcing the air from his lungs, making his teammates look towards him, and causing Akamaru to be torn between wanting to help his partner and cower before the obviously superior ninja. Don't think for what second you have the right to talk to me that way, genin, she harshly hissed, making Kiba feel fear. Soon a foreign and highly unpleasant feeling was washing over him as she held him. It was as if he was currently facing the Shinigami itself, and Kiba had nowhere to run or hide. The feeling soon left just as quickly, and Kiba realized that it had been the same feeling he felt when they were confronted with Zabuza. Apparently he wasn't the only one affected, as the Inuzuka noticed that Sasuke was shaking slightly. The fact he held his kunai a lot more tightly, his hands now white, was even more proof. Secondly, this exercise is to help you better control your chakra. Do that and you'll not only need to use less chakra in your techniques, but you'll struggle less when drawing out your chakra for techniques as well, she explained before looking to Sasuke. You got anything to ask? The Uchiha looked like he wanted to say something but merely shook his head. Spill it, Uchiha. I don't have all day. Not wanting to anger the woman like his idiot teammate, Sasuke complied. How come the dobe's not doing this? Naruto took offense to the insult. I ain't the dead last anymore, team. Naruto scowled. You'll always be a dobe in my books, dobe, Sasuke smirked at the blonde ninja. As Naruto took a step forward, Anko interviewed. The dobe, as you call him, already mastered an even more complicated form of chakra control along with the rest of my team, Anko said, causing Sasuke's smirk to leave his face. Besides, making fun of him is my job. Love you too, sensei. Love you too. Naruto merely chalked it up as another reason to prank her ass hard. The boy had been formulating one for months since the geisha one, and slowly things were coming together. But the prank formulating in his head was the last thing on his mind when the woman whirled around, hunched over, and whispered something into Naruto's ear. When she righted herself, the blonde's face began to form into a broad grin that threatened to split his head in two. Okay, maybe I'll bring it down a notch or two. Maybe. The blonde proceeded towards a nearby tree and decided to show his stuff. Ninpo, Kongariki, ninja art, adamantine strength, he whispered and felt a surge of powerful strength course through him. When he was in position, the boy then proceeded to take out his kanabo, a weapon that Sasuke scoffed at because of its barbaric nature. Naruto merely ignored him before he readied himself. The kanabo being positioned behind his head while an aura of blue covering it as a result of the chakra flow being used. Saigasho, crushing Fang impact. Naruto declared and then unleashed his technique with all his might. What happened would forever being ingrained in the minds of Team 7's Genin and Niken. The moment the kanabo struck home, did the wood crack and buckle under the incredible pressure of the blow. Nami no Kuni's trees, while decent in size, were nothing compared to the might oaks that surrounded Konoha's. Had he tried this stunt on such trees, it would not have worked on the first, second, or even third go. Even then, however, the act of bringing them down was slightly challenging for an experienced arborist or carpenter seeking wood for their craft. Naruto managed to fell his with a single blow of his weapon. The large tree groaned and swayed before it finally came crashing down with a thunderous thud. The fall briefly shook the earth and sent nearby wildlife running. To a seasoned ninja like Anko, the act was somewhat mildly impressive. Being able to take down trees wasn't that grand a feat in her mind. Being able to do it with pure muscle strength and in one blow while you were still only 12 was another matter altogether. The blonde ninja let off a whistle as he watched his handiwork and then turned to the members of Team 7. Every single one of them was floored. Sakura looked as if she was about to fall out of the tree by how shocked she was while Kiba's jaw was on the ground. Sasuke was visibly shaken and looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't really get himself to complete a coherent sentence. Still think he's a dobe now, Uchiha? Anko asked but didn't get an answer. And FYI, this is nothing compared to what others can do. The information only served to further shock the genin of Team 7. Now back to work, maggots! She barked out, and all three of them continued on with their exercise as best they could. But one thought simultaneously echoed in each of their minds: how the hell did he do that? It also made them wonder just how strong the other members of Team 8 were. Were they just as strong, or did they know something else? Either way, they had a lot of catching up to do. With her work done, Anko left Team 7 under the watchful gaze of Midori as she and Naruto headed towards the bridge. The woman and her team had their own mission to accomplish, after all. Helping Team 7 was part of it, but Anko wasn't here to babysit another team. Get them on track and get their asses in gear was one thing, replacing Kakashi as a teacher was another. She had no intention of doing that, but with their current situation, the woman knew she'd have no choice for the time being. Elsewhere, hidden within the many woods of Nami no Kuni, four ninjas shared a large room that had been given by their employer. Scattered throughout the room were various scrolls, herbs, and other personal items that belonged to the four ninja. However, some of them had seen better days. Gozu and Meizu, better known as the Demon Brothers in the bingo books, had various bandages wrapped around them. To say the beating Kakashi had given was unpleasant wouldn't do it justice. Even now, the act of moving still made them wince. Both Chunin level Nuke Nin's injuries paled in comparison to their leaders. Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist, was resting soundly on a bed. By his side was his ward and ever-faithful companion and tool, Haku. Both Meizu and Gozu weren't the smartest of ninja. If they were, then they would not have sustained their current injuries. But both ninja knew that despite otherwise claiming not to feel much for his ward, viewing the gifted ninja of the once famed Yuki clan as merely a stepping stone, the man did in fact care. However, life had not been kind to Zabuza, and expressing anything other than negative emotions wasn't easy for the man. The demon didn't take betrayal too kindly either. Having it occurred to him too many times in his life, Zabuza rarely gave his trust to others or opened up to others. Seeing Haku as merely a tool that would never stab him in the back than a person with questionable loyalties was most likely the man's way of coping. "Well, isn't this a fine mess?" a voice called out, and all conscious ninja scowled as a short, professional-looking man with dark spectacle walked into the room. By his right and left sides were two swordsmen. One was shirtless and sporting an eye patch, while the other was wearing a toque and had markings under his eyes. "I send you to deal with one simple old bridge builder, and you have the nerve to come back here empty-handed." "Some demon," the man chuckled, while Meizu, Gozu, and Haku scowled. Though far from fully healed, Gozu and Meizu were still plenty strong enough to deal with Gato and his guards with minor difficulties. Haku, they knew, could end all three before they had time to even blink. As their movements became transparently hostile, Gozu and Meizu prepared themselves to make a preemptive strike, but a look from Haku told them to stand down. Though reluctant, as the two were itching to cut them man and his bodyguards down, they obliged to the silent command. As Gato moved to grab at their leader, Haku's hand suddenly grasped the man's own and squeezed. The feminine ninja put enough pressure to cause pain, and mostly likely severe bruising and discomfort, but not enough to break or crack the bones. Seeing their employer in trouble, Zora and Waraji moved to defend him but found themselves defenseless as their own swords were poised at their throats. Behind them the demon brothers looked ready to skewer the two Ronin with their wicked clawed gauntlets. Monsters, the two Ronin were caught off guard by the sheer speed of all three. Beads of sweat began to form on all of their heads as they eyed the individuals that could easily end their lives with little to no effort. "I wouldn't get any ideas, Gato," said. Man's eyes landed on Zabaz's form. The man's previously closed eyes were now wide awake, and Gato gulped as he eyed the ninja. "It could end being hazardous to your health." The man proved his point as a kunai suddenly appeared beneath Gato's throat. It took the businessman 2 full seconds as his mind processed what just happened. By then Gato was sweating even more and was also visibly shaking as he realized an inescapable truth. The man before him was weak, but even then he still had enough strength to kill him before it was too late. Gato was an arrogant man and not very well versed when it came to ninja, but the man was intelligent. One didn't become a billionaire of an international company and have various connections and dealing in the underworld without it. "Now that I've got your attention, let's talk about our deal." The bedridden man's tone left no room for argument. Gato scowled but knew how to play the game. It was the reason why his actions in Nami managed to elude the eyes and ears of the rest of the world. But things were starting to change against his favor. For now he had to play it smart. One false move and no amount of money in the world would save him. Begrudgingly the man asked, "What do you want?" Zabuza smirked, and it only served to further anger the small man. This mission just got more complicated. We were asked to deal with only one team. Now we have 2 to deal with, and one of them can summon a giant fucking snake, he explained, and the man noticed Gato's face began to pale. While Gato wasn't well versed in the ninja world, he often heard about stories about them from his contacts in the underworld. Gato didn't know what a summon was exactly, but the words giant snake rang a bell in his mind and gave the man pause. Gato had heard tales of a powerful and twisted ninja that was infamously known for his use of serpents. In the underworld, information was power. But any further information he wished to know about the individual, no matter the amount of money, had been all for naught. This meant 2 possible things. The contacts didn't know enough on the individual to tell him, which was highly doubtful. Or this person was so powerful and feared that no amount of greasing one's palms would get them to talk. The exact words by one of his best had been, "I'd rather die by your hands than by his." Needless to say, Gato had wisely backed off. It was obvious the man's was very powerful if he could instill such a large amount of fear into the hearts of others. "So here's the deal, you're gonna double the amount you owe us. It's either that or we walk and talk." Zabuza smirked, and Gato was torn between fear and anger. Fear for his operations reaching others, thus ruining his empire, and anger for being blackmailed. "Fine, double it is," he agreed, much to his bodyguard's shock. "But no more failures. I want this done and over with quickly. The last thing I need is word getting out," he said, and proceeded to leave the room. "Gato-sama, are you sure about this?" Zabuza and the demon brothers failed once against a single team. With 2 teams, Zora began but was stopped by the man's raised hand. "I know," Gato growled in frustration. The only reason he agreed to double Zabuza's pay was because Gato knew he was at the man's mercy. If he said no, the man would have either killed him or gone blabbing to others about his dealings. There were plenty of individuals more powerful than Gato who would be very interested in using the information for their benefit. Individuals Gato wished to keep his distance from. So what now then? It was now Waraji's turn to ask. Much like Gato, Waraji was arrogant, but even he had to begrudgingly acknowledge Zabuza's superiority. Like many from a samurai upbringing, the man cared little for ninja and thought many of their swordsmen to be poor excuses, especially the 7 swordsmen of Kyuubi. The man attributed this as he viewed their fighting having little to do with actual swordsmanship. Some of the so-called swords they possessed weren't even swords. For now we play smart, was all Gato said. The man couldn't afford another failure and would have to get in contact with others to see how to deal with this mess and Zabuza himself. This meant that Gato would have to look into finding someone even more powerful than the swordsman himself, which wasn't going to be easy or cheap. While Gato was figuring out how to deal with this, Zabuza's group were having their own little discussion. You should have let us deal with it, Zabuza-sama, Haku said. I actually thought you should have killed the fat pig, Gozu added while Meizu snorted. Pig, yeah right? I've seen pigs smaller than that ass. He's more like a small cow, the man retorted. Shut up, their leader stopped the debate from escalating any further. The last thing he needed was hearing another one of the demon brothers' stupid ramblings over something as equally stupid. How long before I'm up and running? A week at best, Zabuza-sama. The poison was from a summon after all, and it took all my medical knowledge to heal you. It was touch and go and you nearly died as a result, the ninja admitted, then added a smile. It's a good thing you didn't. Otherwise I'd be stuck telling Mei-sama. The other three ninjas shivered at the thought of having to deal with an angry Mei. It was no secret the attractive woman had a slight and flirtatious attraction with the man, but even then he wasn't exempted from her wrath. Zabuza had seen it firsthand when Gozu and Meizu made the mistake of asking why she was single. The action had started out as the cheesiest pickup lines and ended with the demon brothers going into intensive care. You've got a sick sense of humor, Haku, the man deadpanned. Haku merely continued to smile. I learned from the best, Zabuza-sama. Smartass, the man realized he might have taught his protege a bit too much and too well. Not to beat around the bush, but how are we gonna deal with this? Twice the pay is good and all, but we're dealing with 6 genin, 2 niken, and 2 jonin. One of them can fucking summon 2, Gozu pointed out the elephant in the room. How the hell are we gonna deal with that? Zabuza had to admit it was one of Gozu's more intelligent questions. The man had a point. How the hell are we gonna deal with this? Kidnapping was an option, but at the moment neither he nor the demon brothers were in any shape to do it, and Haku was ironically a pacifist. The ninja still fought, but the fighting style was basically by paralyzing others and bringing them down with minimum harm as possible. Zabuza knew that the Jounin would most likely keep a closer watch on the genin too. They did have one slight advantage on their side. The opposing group knew about Zabuza, Gozu and Meizu, but not about Haku. Sometime later, while Team 7 was practicing under the watchful gaze of Midori, Anko and her team were strategizing on the next step to take. Alright, the more we know about this place, the better, the logic of it all went without saying really. However, Hataki's team is not really ready for this sort of thing just yet, so I'm stuck babysitting him for the next little while. Midori's good, but if Zabuza's got other goons working for him, they won't last long. So what do we do? Naruto asked. For the moment you guys will take turns guarding the old man. One of you will stay here while the others are out patrolling Nami for any clue where Gato's hiding out. From what I got from Tazuna, the little shit's been spotted in several locations, but he's never in the same place twice. We need to find out where he's hiding and where he plans to go next. Only 2 of you will do this until Kiba, Sasuke or Sakura finishes what I assigned for them. Afterwards, I want all 3 of you to start looking around, Anko said. Arf. Sorry, Poochie, but you're sticking this one out. I doubt a healthy-looking mutt's gonna be able to blend in with this place, she pointed out, and Hadamaru whined. Naruto found it ironic really. Hadamaru knew how to transform himself into a more powerful and adult-like version of himself, but couldn't transform into anything else really. Then again, he probably could if he put the time and effort into it. Which brings up another point, you 3 will have to be in disguise. Other than Zabuza and his posse, Gato's hired thugs are nothing more than common mercenaries. Large in number, but other than that they won't be able to distinguish a ninja using the henge. But in that ensemble you guys will stick out like cheap hookers in a temple. The 3 ninja were not expecting such a crude description or being compared in such a way. However, Nami's pretty big, and with only you 3 I doubt this will go quickly. Which is why your shadow clones are gonna come in handy, Gaki. Huh? How's that? Hello, did you forget that shadow clones send any information they have back to you once they pop? The whole purpose of the shadow clone was meant for infiltration and information gathering while the original stays safe. The only reason why it's not really used is because it takes up too much chakra and forms too many clones. It basically leaves the user too drained of chakra, and too little chakra are in the clones to work properly. Some can do it, but the amount are too few, so the method was deemed inefficient and risky to use, Anko explained. Wait, so I can learn anything the shadow clones learn? Naruto was wide-eyed at the prospect. Any information they learn, you learn, yes. But it's not as simple as it sounds. One shadow clone popping with a bit of info being sent to you is nothing. A shit ton of them popping and sending that amount of info can be hazardous to your health. I heard stories about others doing this and how the brain couldn't handle the influx of information and the results weren't pretty. This isn't like learning stuff from scrolls or book skills where your ability come into play, Gaki. She's right, Naruto. I heard Dad talk about these kinds of cases. The brain basically had its own version of a stroke or heart attack, only a lot worse. At best you'll suffer from a massive migraine, blackout, temporary memory loss, go into a minor coma, or you die immediately, Ino said. Dying is one of the best ones? What's worse than that? Naruto was a little unnerved. At worst you become a vegetable brain dead, permanent memory loss, enter a coma you can't wake up from, or can't process new memories and relive each day over and over again without even realizing it. Ino was being dead serious at the moment. When it came to matters of the mind and illnesses of the mind such as this, the young Yamanaka had been taught not to joke around. No Yamanaka joked around about something this serious. If Naruto were a Yamanaka, it would be slightly different, as a Yamanaka had the ability to categorize a great deal of information influx in their brain like an archive. Young Yamanaka like Ino couldn't do it nearly as well compared to the adults of the clan. Even then, learning too much could still have very bad side effects. Some cases could be healed to an extent, but medics needed to be very skilled and quick. Hinata was getting better, but she lacked the experience, and wasn't anywhere close to that level. Ino also doubted Nami had anyone with that kind of skill as well. Naruto for his part gulped. Okay, that's definitely a lot worse. Normally it wouldn't be a problem if your clones were gathering information on a single subject. Say you're all reading theoretical information from the same book. The mind can handle that. With his gamer ability it was sorta redundant on skill books, but with theory books it was another matter. But in this case you're gonna be gathering a bunch of different information that'll put too much strain on that brain of yours. I doubt it'll be the case, but just to be on the safe side I only want you to make a small amount of clones. As the shadow clone technique equally split up his chakra, Naruto made a rough calculation. The blonde determined that 12 clones, plus himself, would result in each of them having 632.69 or so CP. While it was more than enough to deal with common thugs, it would most likely be another story if they came across another ninja. In the end, Naruto created 7 clones of himself, which allowed him and the doppelgangers to each have 1028.125 CP instead. They'd cover less ground as a result, but they'd have a better fighting chance. Okay, now that that's settled, I want you and Naruto to see what you can find. Don't be afraid to use some of those skills I taught ya. She smirked, and Naruto was slightly interested. Though the interest was gone just as quick as Ino developed a very Anko-like grin of her own. Don't wanna know, just gonna pretend I didn't see it. With their duties assigned, Ino and Naruto set out to do what they were assigned. When they neared a series of buildings that spanned for quite some distance, and spotted various individuals walking about, they went to work. For the next half hour the two familiarized themselves with overall appearance of the people. As Nami wasn't exactly prosperous at the moment, clothing ranged from decent looking to ragged, worn and ripped. Sticking out wasn't the intent, they needed to blend in with the crowd. Naruto took on the appearance of a young man in his late teens with short messy brown hair, his clothing being similar to what Tazuna wore. Naruto's clones took on various appearances ranging from children to older individuals before they set off. Ino, to his surprise, took on the guise of someone a person would normally see in a red light district. Though somewhat uncomfortable, remembering the training she had with Anko helped. Both Ino and Naruto then proceeded to go their separate ways, and agreed to meet back at the designated spot in a few hours. However, the task of finding out information was easier said than done. Well over 2 hours had passed since he and Ino parted, and he still had nothing to show for it. Ino was currently in the red light district, so he left it to her, But Naruto had no idea where to begin finding the information he wanted. Ah fuck, Naruto wondered where exactly he should go from here at this point. Were it Konoha he'd have better luck, as he knew virtually almost all the ins and outs. Here not so much. At the moment he realized his wanderings somehow lead him to a more secluded part of Nami. The disguised blonde doubted he'd find anything here and decided to head out. Hey there, handsome. Huh? Naruto wanted how spoke and became rigid as soon as he spotted where it came from. The voice came a young woman, easily in her 20s, a voluptuous figure and wore a dress that left little to the imagination. Compared to some of the other women he saw, she looked a hell of a lot better than most. Her skin was unblemished, she wore a purple shade of lipstick and the end of her dark brown hair was in a braid. You're new here, aren't you? The woman sauntered over. I've been here quite a while, seen all kinds of faces. Yours is different, you're not from around her, she said. Naruto honestly had no idea what to do at the moment. Give him someone to fight and he'd kick their asses 100 ways to Sunday. Ask him to flirt or deal with something like this, and one would have been luck getting a rock to float on water. Who are you? He asked and mentally kicked himself. Smooth, Naruto. Smooth. Asagao, she introduced, and somehow Naruto doubted it was her real. So what's a good-looking guy like you doing in a dump like Nami? I can ask you the same thing, was his rebuttal. Witty, I like that in a man, she said and grazed her hand across his shoulder. The act making him shudder for whatever reason, but if you must know, I'm saving up till I can finally leave this place. Girls like me don't last too long, especially with Gato's men around. We're basically seen as entertainment for his men and himself, and that's if we're lucky. Some actually get sold off and shipped far away. On the off chance his rule here ends, I doubt they'll ever be seen again. Here Naruto noticed her eyes subtly shifting at various angles, as if she was scouting the area for potential danger and ready to make a dash for it if forced to. The boy realized she was being very cautious at the moment. You're awfully trusting. How do you know I'm not one of Gato's men? He asked and saw her smirk. Please, I can spot one of Gato's men from a mile away even if they try and downplay their Neanderthal-like tendencies. You don't last as long as I do without being smart and observant. You don't have the same look they do. But it still begs the question, why are you here? Asagao asked. Naruto knew he had no choice but to bullshit as best he could. He was good at it, sorta, but this woman, despite not being a ninja, was good. He'd have to go all out, honestly. I can't remember exactly. All I remember is waking up on the shore and with pieces of wood around me. Maybe I'm a fisherman. I honestly can't remember, he said. As he knew little about Nami, the old I'm suffering from amnesia story was the best way to go at it. Asagao hummed and looked at him inquisitively. Sounds like you're one of those brave or stupid enough to try and make a run for the mainland, here she sighed. Gato's got these waters constantly patrolled, and it's near impossible to get out of here without luck and careful planning on your side. I heard a couple of days ago a boat tried to make a break for it. Apparently, Gato's men got to them before they got halfway across. No one survived apparently. Guess you lucked out, sorta, she said. Maybe, can't exactly deny or confirm it, Naruto said and pretended to wince as if a sudden pain struck his head. Luckily, he had given his henge a fresh scar on his head, so it would help lend some validity to the story. What's there to do around here? You mean besides being smart and keeping your head down? Nothing much really, she said. Nami used to be prosperous because we have skilled craftsmen you won't find anywhere else. Tons of different species of fish live and migrate here, so we made a living off that too, but Gato's got an ironclad grip on this place, and he limits who's allowed to do what. Put one foot out of line and you'll be wishing for death. Gato's sucking this place dry for all it's worth till nothing's left, and the people are too damn scared to fight back after what he did to Kaiza. Kaiza? Naruto was now actually getting some potentially useful information. Former local hero of Nami, she began before a startled look entered her eyes as though she suddenly heard something. Sorry, handsome, gotta go. Hope to see you again. Naruto cursed, as he didn't get what he needed but knew she had a good reason for bolting. The woman had very good hearing. Naruto only knew about them the moment his detection skill came into play when they entered his range. Hey you! An uncouth call was heard. Me? Naruto asked, playing the ignorant fool, to nearest of the three men. No one else is here, retard, one of them laughed before approaching him. Who was that you were talking to? Who? Don't play dumb, kid. Word has it there's a beautiful and totally fuckable hottie that's been spotted around here from time to time. So unless you were talking to yourself, I'm wagering you were speaking with her. He grinned and Naruto forced himself not to gag. The man's breath reeked of poor dental hygiene and strong alcohol. Seriously, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just taking a walk. Apparently it was the wrong thing to say to these men as their faces contorted into angry snarls. Whether or not it was the alcohol that was influencing their judgment, or merely because they were quick to anger mattered little now. So it's gonna be like that, eh? The men went for their weapons and that was all Naruto needed to see before he made his move. The fight, if one could call it that, was over before they had time to draw their weapons. Naruto had proceeded by grabbing the two furthest men and slammed their heads into the middle one. The amount of force in the move had their eyes popping out comically before sweet unconsciousness took a hold of them. The fact that they were only level 9 with low attributes, basically low academy level strong, also helped in making it one-sided. But it also left him with a current dilemma. What the hell should I do with these guys? Bringing them back to Anko was an option, but it meant having to carry them there. His Fuinjutsu was good, but he couldn't seal live people into them yet. Plus Anko was looking after Team 7 at the moment. Creating some shadow clones and then disguising themselves fellow thugs and were another option, but there'd be a chance of encountering others and being found out. Blowing his cover as a result, which defeated the whole purpose. Hey, wait a minute. Kage Bunshin, shadow clone technique, creating another clone of himself. Naruto then grinned. If any one of you are near the red light district, get Ino and tell here to come here. He finished and proceeded to dispel the clone once it served its purpose. Naruto hoped the trick worked before he began to bind and gag the unconscious thugs. Luckily there was a ton of nearby discarded junk and garbage that could be used to hide the bodies on the off chance someone walked by. 15 minutes later Naruto felt a rush of information flow through his head and realized one of his clones had managed to find and inform Ino. Wish he found out more useful information though. Apparently the clone was having as much luck as he was at the moment. Hopefully it wasn't a recurring theme. Naruto waited an additional 15 minutes, passing the time by knocking out the three stooges once they began rousing from their beauty sleep. Before Ino finally showed up, took your sweet time, Naruto said. Can't exactly run and draw attention to myself. The Amanka didn't mention that many had asked to see her along the way, and she needed to shake him off somehow. So where are these clowns? The disguised ninja moved his head behind him and Ino immediately understood. Once free from the garbage, Ino got to work on their minds and tried to locate anything useful. The process took her 5 to 9 minutes per thug before she was done. By the end the girl looked like she wanted to end their lives. Anything? All he got was a disappointed shake and Naruto cursed, nothing, too low in the payroll. The only useful thing I found out was that Gato apparently informs certain thugs of his plans, but these assholes don't know who they are. The only two who possibly know are his personal bodyguards, but from what I saw they rarely leave his side. Shit, all this time and they basically had nothing to show for it. Did you find anything useful? Nada, the girls I'm with spent some nights with some of Gato's men but they don't know much. Managed to persuade some thugs when they asked for me but it was useless shit. Upon seeing Naruto's worried look Ino chuckled, don't worry, they didn't touch me. They only think they did, she smirked and Naruto had to admit that what a Yamanaka could do to another's mind was frightening. Against weak-minded individual it wasn't all that difficult for Ino. Especially with the training she received from Anko and her father. Against others of greater mental fortitude it would have taken someone as skilled and experienced as Inoichi to accomplish such a task. So what do we do with these guys? Ino's was going to suggest having them killed for all the sick things she saw in their heads but refrained from it. If any of Gato's men started disappearing it would arouse suspicion. I'll alter their memories. Make it so they think they got plastered and knocked each other by accident. Keep an eye out. This will take a while and I'm vulnerable while doing this. As Ino got to work Naruto didn't fail to notice the bite in her voice as she said this. Whatever it was she saw must have been really bad if Ino wanted them dead. Naruto never forgot his first kill accidental as it was. His gamer's mind helped him, but even then Naruto had come to terms with it. So far either Ino or Hinata had killed a human being. Hinata had passed her clan's test that was similar to the first half of the rite, and chakra mutations were one thing, but killing another human being was another story. Naruto didn't know if his gamer's mind ability extended towards them when teamed up, but hoped they were prepared when it happened. Enko had been preparing them when it did happen, but even then there was no guarantee how one would handle it. While Ino was wishing for their deaths now, she could be singing a different tune altogether after the deed was done. Sometime later, after Ino was finished with her task, both got back to work to try and find anything else that would prove useful. It was well into the afternoon before both Ninja and Kunoichi decided to call it a day. As he ordered the clones to dispel, Naruto felt a great flood of information. "You're supposed to cancel them one at a time, Naruto," Ino chided and shook her head upon seeing his dumb grin. As he processed the new information, Naruto was even more disappointed. While only the first day, much of what they found proved to be a dead end. Oh, knowing things such as how Nami was suffering from a short food supply among other things proved enlightening. Much of the other information in some way or another could be traced back to Gato as the main cause, but it served little in finding out where he was. "Hey Ino, you go on ahead. I'll catch up," Naruto informed his teammate. Ino wasn't even able to ask where he was going before he used the Shunshin to go who knows where. "Just be careful, you idiot." While he wasn't the same dead last Naruto from the academy, he was still Naruto. He was smarter, but old habits died hard. Ino just hoped he didn't do anything to get himself in trouble. It was nearing sundown when Ino finally arrived back at the home of Tazuna. Knocking in a series of sequences, to notify it was indeed her, the door opened and the blonde cocked an eye at the sight before her. Kiba is spread out on the couch, looking dead to the world. Sasuke himself was faring better, but Ino could tell he was exhausted. Sakura, and here Ino had to stop herself from laughing, was doing an impression of a mummy or one of the zombies from the dungeons. Hinata was back from her guard duty, and the girl had a green glow surrounding her hands as she reduced the fatigue in Akamaru. "So, how's everyone doing?" Ino asked Team 7. "Azugeha," Sakura mumbled incoherently. The mere act appeared to take quite some effort, it seemed. Translation, please. Ino looked to Kiba and Sasuke. "I'm spitballing here," Kiba began before trying to catch his breath. "But I think she asked, how are you still sane?" "She's freaking nuts," he said, and Sasuke couldn't help but agree with him. "You'd get used to it, sorta," she mumbled the last part. Quit your bitchin', mutt." "Pale eyes and blondie, still have a while to go stamina-wise," Enko informed the exhausted Inuzuka. "What about the do Naruto?" Sasuke caught himself as the woman gave the Uchiha look. "Oh, the Gaki's and stamina beast on superoids. He's gonna make women real happy when he gets older," she smirked as Tazuna sputtered on his sake. Typical Enko-sensei, Ino had seen the comment coming a mile away. "Hey, where's Hato?" she asked upon noticing the lack of two Niken. "One of the Gaki's clones came here a while ago to grab him and head out. Told the little shit he shouldn't be out there by himself with who knows who's in Gato's pockets, so I sent Midori to keep an eye out," Enko muttered, and the she spoke made Team 7's Genin flinch. "That's Naruto-kun for you," Hinata commented, and the girl received some incredulous looks from the Genin and her teacher. Did I say something wrong?" "Just that we weren't expecting that to come from you," Ino stated as a matter of fact. The Yamanaka heiress knew that Hinata was slowly but surely coming out of her shell. She was still timid, but it wasn't as bad as when they first began. "Humph," Ino heard before she spotted a young boy heading up the stairs. As it was the first time she saw the boy, Ino asked, "Who's that?" To Tazuna. "That's Inari, my grandson." Ino noticed Tazuna had a tired look in his eye. "Sorry about him, he's been like ever since Gato came to Nami. Being trained by Enko." The blonde Kunoichi knew she was being given a half-lie. However, what it was about also turned the mood somber, judging by the looks in Tazuna and Tsunami's faces. Ino wisely decided not to push. "Dinner will be ready soon, everyone," Tsunami announced, the woman now sporting a mask of cheerfulness. "However, we're a bit short, so we'll have to knock. Knock, knock. Knock, 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 knock. Knock." "That's the Gaki," Enko stated the obvious as the knocking sequence was heard. Hard to believe he'd remember it, Kiba grumbled but winced as his body ached once more. The young heir knew that the old Naruto wouldn't have remembered it, and knew that it would have been an impostor. I'll get it. Being the gracious hostess, Tsunami made her way to the door, Ino having sat down beside Hinata. However, the woman was left stunned and let loose a very loud "H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H" in the process. The action made Tazuna stumbled out of his chair and onto the ground, his sake bottle rolling out of his hand and spilling its contents on the floor. Kiba and Sasuke took a battle stance, though it was shaky at best given their current weariness. Sakura too armed herself, but the lack of feeling her legs prevented the girl from getting up properly, and she needed to have one arm firmly placed on the sofa to keep her balance. What? What the hell is it? Kiba asked and prepared himself as best he could. The answer to his question, however, merely walked in through the door. A large hairy beast the size of a horse entered the house, and in its maw was dead boar of medium size. The sight of the beast unnerved the genin of Team 7, while Tsunami and Tazuna looked frightful. Kakashi wondered what all the noise was about and saw the reason for it as he came down the stair. Oh, hello, Hato, he greeted the large Niken. Hato! The genin of Team 7 were floored by the revelation. Oh, come on! Even his Niken's stronger than mine? What the fuck? Kiba whined pathetically, an act that was mimicked by his own Niken. Ninja dogs that were given outside the clan tended to be much weaker as they could not learn their techniques anymore. Some they'd know instinctively, but even then they weren't that strong. Apparently, being with the former dead last made Hatomaru an exception to the rule. Seriously, this fucking blows. While he could maybe come to terms with Naruto being stronger than him, it was a matter of clan pride when a clanless Niken became stronger than his own. Kiba knew he and Akamaru had some serious catching up to do. Bark! The enlarged Niken greeted, placed the board down, and then turned back into his miniature self. Arf, arf. The small Niken panted and nudged the pig towards Tsunami. Sorry about that, Naruto sheepish grinned. My hands were full and Hato sorta knocked me aside. Bad dog. Naruto chastised his partner. Arf. Growling, the tiger-stripped Niken growled. Don't you flare your nostrils at me, you little shit, Naruto glared back before he entered. Over his left shoulder was a deer, and in his right hands were a pair of hares. Looking at the group, he announced, "Got dinner?" Needless to say, the group had plenty of food for the night thanks to his little escapade. And as they ate and filled their hungry stomachs, the group slowly forgot about their troubles and enjoyed each other's companies. While they still had a while to go before they accomplished their mission, for now they were content and happy. However, in the coming days, many would be in for rude awakenings. Ultimately, it'd be a deciding factor in their lives. Would they continue on as ninja? Or would they be forced to quit?